Hello. Hello, everyone. How are you? Are we cozy today? Should I ask how the audio is? Was it too loud?
Oh, I should have asked. Are you playing all 3 of these videos at the same time?
No.
Alright.
Maybe that's better. Turn it down a little bit. Ah, that's nice. Yes.
There you go.
Yes. Okay. So, Luca, would you like to choose?
Yes.
Not the books. I'm talking about the sounds. Would you like firewood, so fireplace, or would you like rain?
This, I don't know. They're kind of really good.
They're both good. It just depends on what mood you're in for today.
The rain is, I think I like the rain.
Rain? Okay.
Wait, let me go ahead and choose the fireplace.
Why, hello there. What a wonderful day to read some books with the astounding Luca and the yet peculiar smelling Hey. Jaju. Hello. So I'm listening to rain right now.
Rain it is.
I don't know, I tried to sound fancy. I mean, we can have fireplace, like I said, it doesn't matter.
I mean, we can do both.
No, you pick one. You don't get both.
Oh, wait. What am I listening to right now? No, rain. I choose rain.
Rain? Okay.
It's raining outside, everyone. Actually, no, never mind. Maybe not. I don't know, it's so hard. It's so hard, okay? I like the rain, but it doesn't make sense reading it.
Okay, Alice E. Jaju, Brazingi, I see you're all in here. Would you prefer rain? So this is rain. Oh, also, if you want me to turn it up, let me know. So that's rain. This is the fireplace. The weather is wonderful. Rain gives a majestic ambience to read to, says Jaju. Should we do rain? Do rain today?
Rain.
Rain. Okay, there's the rain. And then we also have some light piano music in the background. Is it loud enough? Is it too loud? Is it too quiet? I can turn it up. Should I turn it up just a smidge? Just a smidge. Piano? You hear the piano? Oh, it's a little loud. In my ears, it's loud. I'll turn it down low. There you go. And it reminds me of Persona 5 when it rains. Oh my gosh. Jaju. I think that, in my ears, that sounds good. Okay. Now, if anything, if you want me to turn up anything, turn down anything, please let me know. Okay? Okay, chat? Okay. Alright, Luca.
Yes.
What story are we reading today?
Okay.
What story do you want to read first?
Let's read. Okay. Why don't we start with something? Let's start with Alibaba and the 40 Thieves.
Okay.
Let's start with a classic, everyone.
I think okay, 2 of the ones we have today are classics, and one I don't think is as a classic. Oh! Wait, 1 second. Ooh! Cap gave us something to read later. Maybe we'll end with this.
And no. We're gonna end it with a horror story.
No!
Give everyone nightmares.
We'll ask chat. When we get to that point.
Chat doesn't have a choice.
I'll send you what he sent me.
Fine.
I think it's a yokai tale.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
So there's that, and then I was gonna send you that other one. I didn't send it to you yet. This one. For later. Good, got it all. And no! See, Tora doesn't want a scary story at the end.
No, Tora knows what Tora wants it. She just doesn't realize she wants it.
No, maybe we'll read like a children's fairy tale at the end.
But that is a fairy tale. What we're gonna read.
No, it's not.
Well, you know what? It's time for Tora to have some nightmares.
No,
okay?
I will not allow sweet, precious, adorable Tora to have nightmares. Okay.
Tora, get out on the last book, okay?
No.
That's fine.
1 second. I need to refresh chat. It's like not showing up correctly. There we go. I couldn't see everyone's badges for some reason. All right. So Alibaba and the 40 Thieves. That's what we're starting with.
Yep.
Okay.
Yes.
Hello, hey Jaju. Greetings to the Allison, amazing singer. I hope you're having a wonderful evening this Tuesday. What an astounding day. No nightmares, please. No, Tora, I will not allow anyone to have nightmares. Luca's just being a playful bull today.
I don't like horror stories, but I like giving everyone else's nightmares.
That's terrible.
Yeah. I'm a very horrible person.
Okay. So, I'm gonna ask one more time. Does the music and the rain sound okay? Are they too light or are they too loud? So I'm gonna start reading soon. And I just want to make sure they don't sound bad. Yes or no?
Yeah, they sound okay.
Well, obviously it sounds different on your end. Oh, you mean, are you actually listening to it?
I listened to it.
It's good?
Yeah.
Okay, awesome.
It sounds perfect.
Thank you, Toro! Okay, we will start.
Okay.
Let me move this arm. It's like in my way. Yeah, there we go.
A long time ago.
In a galaxy far, far away. No.
Yes. There was a ramen ghost. That was gonna change the world. But he did the order 66 that killed everyone, so it's like, whoop. Oh well. Another day, another dollar.
Okay. Pause that. Okay, there we go. I'm ready. Alright, are we ready? You ready, Luca?
Ready?
Okay.
Ready.
So, today we will be reading Alibaba and the 40 Thieves, which is known to be in the Arabian Nights. It is stated at the top here, just a little insert, says, though this version of the story is titled The History of Alibaba and the 40 Robbers Killed by One Slave, we choose to use the shorter and more familiar title, Alibaba and the 40 Thieves. The story has been told in many versions, with slight variations in title and detail. We've chosen the Arabian Nights Windmeyer series, illustrated by Milo Winter, 1914. This story probably did not appear until the European translations, notably by Anton Galland in 1704 and 1717. So that is the version we're reading today. Okay, here we go. Let me drink some water. And yes, have a good lurk. Dadu. There once lived in a town of Persia 2 brothers, one named Cassim and the other Alibaba. Their father divided a small inheritance equally between them. Cassim married a very rich wife and became a wealthy merchant. Alibaba married a woman as poor as himself and lived by cutting wood and bringing it upon 3, we could say donkeys, unto the town to sell. Censorship. One day, when Alibaba was in the forest and had just cut wood enough to load his donkey, he saw at a distance a great cloud of dust, which seemed to approach him. He observed it with attention and distinguished soon after a body of a horseman, whom he suspected might be robbers. He determined to leave his donkeys to save himself. He climbed up a large tree, planted on a high rock, whose branches were thick enough to conceal him, and yet enabled him to see all that passed without being discovered. The troop, who were to the number of 40, all well mounted and armed, came to the foot of the rock on which the tree stood, and there dismounted. Every man unbridled his horse, tied him to some shrub, and hung about his neck a bag of corn, which they had brought behind them. Then each of them took off his saddlebag, which seemed to Alibaba from its weight to be full of gold and silver. One, whom he took to be their captain, came under the tree in which Alibaba was concealed, and making his way through some shrubs, pronounced these words, "Open, Sesame." As soon as the captain and the robbers had thus spoken, a door opened in the rock, and after he had made all his troop enter before him, he followed them and then shut again itself. The robbers stayed some time within the rock, during which Alibaba, fearful of being caught, remained in the tree. At last the door opened again, and as the captain went in last, so he came out first, and stood to see them all pass by him. When Alibaba heard him make the door close by pronouncing these words, "Shut, Sesame," every man at once went and bridled his horse, fastened his wallet, and mounted again. When the captain saw them all ready, he put himself at their head, and they returned the way they had come. Alibaba followed them with his eyes as far as he could see them, and afterward stayed a considerable time before he descended. Remembering the words the captain of the robbers used to cause the door to open and shut, he had the curiosity to try if his pronouncing them would have the same effect. Accordingly, he went among the shrubs, and perceiving the door concealed behind them, stood before it and said, "Open, Sesame." The door instantly flew wide open. Alibaba, who expected a dark, dismal cavern, was surprised to see a well-lighted and spacious chamber, which received the light from an opening at the top of the rock, and in which were all sorts of provisions, rich bales of silk, stuff, brocade, and valuable carpeting, piled upon one another, gold and silver ingots in great heaps, and money in bags. The sight of all these riches made him suppose that this cave must have been occupied for ages by robbers who had succeeded one another. Alibaba went boldly into the cave, and collected as much of the gold coin, which was in bags, as he thought his 3 donkeys could carry. When he had loaded them with the bags, he laid wood over them in such a manner that they could not be seen, and when he had passed in and out as he wished, he stood before the door and pronounced the words, "Shut, Sesame." The door closed of itself. He then made the best of his way to town. When Alibaba got home, he drove his donkeys into a little yard, shut the gates very carefully, threw off the wood, and covered the painters, carried the bags into his house, and ranged them in order before his wife. He then emptied the bags, which raised such a great heap of gold as dazzled his wife's eyes, and then he told her the whole adventure from beginning to end, and, above all, recommended her to keep it a secret. The wife rejoiced greatly at their good fortune, and would count all the gold piece by piece. "Wife," replied Alibaba, "you do not know what you undertake when you pretend to count the money. You will never have done. I will dig a hole and bury it. There is no time to be lost." "You are right, husband," replied she. "But let us know as nigh as possible how much we have. I will borrow a small measure and measure it while you dig the hole." Away the wife ran to her brother-in-law, Cassim, who lived just by, and addressing herself to his wife, desired that she lend her a measure for a little while. Her sister-in-law asked her whether she would have a great or small one. The other asked for a small one. She bade her stay a little, and she would readily fetch one. Oh, look, we have pictures. The sister-in-law did so. But as she knew Alibaba's poverty, she was curious to know what sort of grain his wife wanted to measure, and artfully putting some suet in the bottom of the measure, brought it to her with an excuse that she was sorry that she'd made her stay so long, but that she could not find it sooner. Alibaba's wife went home, set the measure upon the heap of gold, filled it, and emptied it often upon the sofa till she had done. When she was very well satisfied to find the number of measures amounted to so many as they did, and went to tell her husband, who had almost finished digging the hole, when Alibaba was bearing the gold, his wife, to show her exactness and diligence to her sister-in-law, carried the measure back again, but without taking notice that a piece of gold had stuck to the bottom. "Sister," said she, giving it to her again, "you see that I have not kept your measure long. I am obliged to you for it, and return it with thanks." Such a pretty picture.
Yes, it is.
As soon as Alibaba's wife was gone, Cassim looked at the bottom of the measure, and was in inexpressible surprise to find a piece of gold sticking to it. Envy immediately possessed her breast. "What?" said she. "Has Alibaba gold so plentiful as to measure it? Whence has he all this wealth?" Cassim, her husband, was at his counting house. When he came home, his wife said to him, "Cassim, I know you think yourself rich, but Alibaba is indefinitely richer than you. Or indefinitely, infinitely. He does not count his money, but measures it." Cassim desired her to explain the riddle, which she said by telling him the stratagem she had used to make the discovery, and showed him the piece of money, which was so old that they could not tell in what prince's reign it had been coined. Cassim, after he had married the rich widow, had never treated Alibaba as a brother, but neglected him, and now, instead of being pleased, he conceived a base of envy at his brother's prosperity. He could not sleep at all that night, and went to him in the morning before sunrise. "Alibaba," he said, "I am surprised at you. You pretend to be miserably poor, and yet you measure gold. My wife found this at the bottom of the measure you borrowed yesterday." By this discourse, Alibaba perceived that Cassim and his wife, through his own wife's folly, knew that they had so much reason to conceal, but what was done could not be undone. Therefore, without showing the least surprise or trouble, he confessed all, and offered his brother part of his treasure to keep the secret.
Oh, what? He's already rich. What an a-hole.
He's not that rich, so he has wealth, but he doesn't have that much wealth.
Yo.
"I expect as much," replied Cassim hotly, "but I must know exactly where this treasure is, and how I may visit it myself when I choose. Otherwise I will go and inform against you, and then you will not only get no more, but will lose all you have, and I shall have to share for my information." Oh, naruhodo. Alibaba told him as he desired, even to the very words that he was to use to gain admission into the cave. Did you have a statement, Luca?
No.
You sure? Any comments so far?
Yeah, he's still an a-hole.
Cassim rose the next morning long before the sun, and set out for the forest with the 10 mules bearing great chests, which he designed to fill, and followed the road which Alibaba had pointed out to him. It was not long before he reached the rock, and found out the place by the tree and other marks which his brother had given him. When he reached the entrance of the cavern, he pronounced the words, "Open Sesame." The door immediately opened, and when he was in, closed upon him. In examining the cave, he was in great admiration to find much more riches than he had expected from Alibaba's relation. He quickly laid as many bags of gold as he could carry at the door of the cavern. But his thoughts were so full of the great riches he should possess that he could not think of the necessary word to make it open. But instead of sesame, he said, "Open barley," and was much amazed to find the door remained fast shut. He named several sorts of grain, but still the door would not open. Cassim had never expected such an incident, and was so alarmed at the danger he was in that the more he endeavored to remember the word sesame, the more his memory was confounded, and he had as much forgotten it as if it had never been mentioned. He threw down the bags he had loaded himself with, and walked distractedly up and down the cave, without having the least regard to the riches that were around him. About noon, the robbers visited their cave. At some distance, they saw Cassim's mules straggling about the rock, with great chests on their back. Alarmed at this, they galloped full speed to the cave. They drove away the mules, who strayed through the forest so far that they were soon out of sight, and went directly with their naked sabers in their hands to the door. On their captain pronouncing the proper words, immediately opened. Cassim, who had heard the noise of the horses' feet at once, guessed the arrival of the robbers, and resolved to make one effort for his life. He rushed to the door, and no sooner saw the door open, he ran out and threw the leader down, but could not escape the other robbers, who, with their scimitars, soon deprived him of life.
Ah, satisfactory.
Okay. How tragic. The first care of the robbers, after this, was to examine the cave. They found all the bags which Cassim had brought to the door to be ready to load his mules, and carried them again to their places. But they did not miss what Alibaba had taken away before. When holding a council and deliberating upon the occurrence, they guessed that Cassim, when he was in, could not get out again, but could not imagine how he had learned the secret words by which alone he could enter. They could not deny the fact of his being there, and to terrify any person or accomplice who should attempt the same thing. They agreed to cut Cassim's body in 4 quarters, to hang 2 on one side and 2 on the other, within the door of the cave. They had no sooner taken this resolution when they put in an execution, and when they had nothing more to detain them, left the place of their hoards well closed. They mounted their horses, went to beat the roads again, and to attack the caravans they might meet. In the meantime, Cassim's wife, who was very uneasy when night came, and her husband had not returned. She ran to Alibaba in great alarm and said, "I believe, brother-in-law, that you know Cassim has gone to the forest, and upon that account it is now night, and he has not returned. I am afraid some misfortune has happened to him." Alibaba told her that she need not frighten herself, for that certainty Cassim would not think it proper to come into town until the night should be pretty far advanced. Cassim's wife, considering how much it concerned her husband to keep the business secret, was the more easily persuaded to believe her brother-in-law. She went home again and waited patiently till midnight. Then her fear redoubled, and her grief was the more sensible because she was forced to keep it to herself. She repented of her foolish curiosity and cursed her desire of prying into the affairs of her brother and sister-in-law. She spent all the night in weeping, and as soon as the day went to them, telling them by her tears the cause of her coming. Alibaba did not wait for his sister-in-law to desire him to go see what had become of Cassim, but departed immediately, and with his 3 donkeys, begging of her first to moderate her grief, he went to the forest. And when he came near the rock, having seen neither his brother nor his mules on his way, he seriously alarmed at finding some blood spilt near the door, which he took for an ill omen. But when he had pronounced the word and the door had opened, he was struck with horror at the dismal sight of his brother's body. He was not long in determining how he could pay the last dues to his brother, but without averting to the little fraternal affection he had shown for him, went into the cave and found something to enshroud his remains. Having loaded one of his donkeys with him, he covered them over with wood. The other 2 donkeys he loaded with bags of gold, covering them with wood also as before, and then bidding the door shut. He came away, but was so cautious as to stop time at the end of the forest, that he might not go into town before night. When he came home, he drove the 2 donkeys loaded with gold into his little yard, and left the care of unloading them to his wife, while he led the other to his sister-in-law's house. How sad.
Yeah.
So sad.
It is sad.
So very sad. Alibaba knocked at the door, which was opened by Morgiana, a clever, intelligent slave, who was fruitful in the inventions to meet the most difficult circumstances. When he came into the court, he unloaded the donkey, and taking Morgiana aside, said to her, "You must observe in infallible secrecy. Your master's body is contained in these 2 preeners. We must bury him as if he had died a natural death. Go now and tell your mistress. I leave the matter to your wit and skillful devices." Alibaba helped to place the body in Cassim's house, again recommended to Morgiana to act her part well, and then returned with his donkeys. Morgiana went out early the next morning to a druggist and asked for a sort of lozenge which was considered efficacious in the most dangerous disorders. The apothecary inquired who was ill. She replied with a sigh, her good Master Cassim himself, and that he could neither eat nor speak. In the evening, Morgiana went to the same druggist again, and with tears in her eyes, asked for an essence which they could use to give sick people only when in the last extremity. "Alas," said she, taking it from the apothecary, "I'm afraid that this remedy will have no better effect than the lozenges, and that I shall lose my good master." On the other hand, as Alibaba and his wife were often seen to go between Cassim and their own house all that day, and to seem melancholy, no one was surprised in the evening to hear the lamentable shrieks and cries of Cassim's wife and Morgiana, who gave out everywhere that her master was dead. The next morning at daybreak, Morgiana went to an old cobbler whom she knew to be always ready at his stall, and bidding him good morrow, put a piece of gold into his hand, saying, "Baba Mustapha, you must bring with you your sewing tackle and come with me, but I must tell you I shall blindfold you when you come to such a place." Baba Mustapha seemed to hesitate a little at these words. Oh, you would have me do something against my conscience, or against my honor?" "God forbid," said Morgiana, putting another piece of gold into his hand, "that I should ask anything that is contrary to your honor. Only come along with me and fear nothing." Baba Mustapha went with Morgiana, who, after she had bound his eyes with a handkerchief at the place she had mentioned, conveyed him to her deceased master's house, and never unloosed his eyes till he had entered the room where she had put the corpse together. "Baba Mustapha," said she, "you must take haste and sew the parts of this body together, and when you have done, I will give you another piece of gold. After Baba Mustafa had finished his task, she blindfolded him again, gave him the third piece of gold as she had promised, and recommended secrecy to him, carried him back to the place where she had first bound his eyes, pulled off the bandage, and let him go home, but watched him as he returned towards his stall till he was quite out of sight for fear he should have the curiosity to return and dodge her. She then went home. Morgiana, on her return, warmed some water to wash the body, and at the same time Alibaba perfumed it with incense and wrapped it in the burying clothes and the accustomed ceremonies. Not long after, the proper officer brought the bier, and when the attendants of the mosque, whose business it was to wash the dead, offered to perform their duty, she told them it was done already. Shortly after this, Nimon and the other ministers of the mosque arrived. 4 neighbors carried the corpse to the burying ground, following Nimon, who recited some prayers. Ali Baba came after with some neighbors, who often relieved the others in carrying the bier to the burying ground. Morgiana, a slave to the deceased, followed in the procession, weeping, beating her breast, and tearing her hair. Qasim's wife stayed at home mourning, uttering lamentable cries with the women of the neighborhood, who came, according to custom, during the funeral, and joining their lamentations with hers, filled the quarter far and near the sounds of sorrow. I'm taking a drink of tea.
I will take a little sip of water, even though I'm not talking. I would have left the body. Just saying.
Oh my god. That's
I don't
wrong.
I don't want no 40 thieves coming after me.
You're saying if it was my body, you would just leave me there?
Yes. Look, okay, as a ghost, I'm pretty sure
You're just a bull. It's not like they could do anything to you.
Yeah, but they could break me again. I mean, I'll still be alive. But look, if you can actually, yeah, no, I'll still leave you. You'll become a ghost and you just follow me around. We'll be friends. We'll be friends forever.
That's terrible.
And true.
Hi, Ems. Welcome.
Welcome. We're reading Alibaba and the 40 Thieves.
Yep.
Come relax.
Sad, right, Tora? Just gonna leave me and turn me into a ghost.
It's better than me being killed by 40 thieves.
Well, we don't know that yet. Okay, we haven't heard the whole story.
They just put the dead body in their caverns. Like, who took this body? Go and investigate.
Unless they I forget. I'm not sure what they do there. I don't know what their burial processes are. We'll have to keep reading.
Yeah.
I'm having tea. My tea is hibiscus and rose hips. And it's a very pretty red color. Delicious. Ham! Ham! Thank you for the resub. Wait, tier 2? Dang.
Thank you, Ham.
And 8 months in a row! Holy moly! It's been that long already, that's weird. We've known each other for this long. Yeah. Just think about that. That's too long. Too long where it doesn't feel that long. You know what I mean? Like, it's like, wow, that's so long. And then it's like...
I feel like we haven't been streaming for 8 months.
I don't think I didn't feel like we had been either.
Mm-hmm.
It's crazy. It's crazy. Also, how are you, Ham? How are you doing? Ham is, surviving. Oh, in work. Oh, yeah, you're working right now. Well, if you want to, you can tune in. We're just reading Alibaba and the 40 Thieves. We got to the part where Alibaba brought his brother's remains home. Okay, where am I at? Here. Boop. Okay, we continue. In this manner, Kasim's melancholy death was concealed and hushed up between Alibaba, his widow, and Morgiana, his slave, with so much contrivance that nobody in the city had the least knowledge or suspicion of the cause of it. 3 or 4 days after the funeral, Alibaba removed his few goods openly to his sister's house, in which it was agreed that he should in future live, but the money he had taken from the robbers he conveyed thither by night. As for Kasim's warehouse, he entrusted it entirely to the management of his eldest son. While these things were being done, the 40 robbers again visited their retreat in the forest. Great, then, was their surprise to find Kasim's body taken away, with some of their bags of gold. "We are certainly discovered," said the captain. "The removal of the body and the loss of some of our money plainly shows the man whom we've killed had an accomplice, and for our own lives' sake, we must try to find him. What say you, my lads?" All the robbers English is hard. All the robbers unanimously approved of the captain's proposal. "Well," said the captain, "one of you, the boldest and most skillful among you, must go into the town, disguised as a traveler and a stranger, to try if he can hear of any talk of the man whom we have killed, and endeavor to find out who he was and where he lived. This is a matter of the first importance, and for fear of any treachery, I propose that whoever undertakes this business without success, even though the failure arises only from an error of judgment, shall suffer death." Without waiting for the sentiments of his companions, one of the robbers started up and said, "I submit to this condition, and think it is an honor to expose my life to serve the troop." After this robber had received great commendations from the captain and his comrades, he disguised himself so that nobody would take him for what he was, and taking his leave to the troop that night, he went into town just at daybreak. He walked up and down until accidentally he came to Baba Mustapha's stall, which was always open before any of the shops. Baba Mustapha was seated, with an owl on his head, just going to work. The robber saluted him, bidding him good morrow, and perceiving that he was old, said, "Honest man, you begin to work very early. Is it possible that one of your age can see so well? I question, even if it were somewhat lighter, whether you could see to stitch." "You do not know me," replied Baba Mustapha. "For old as I am, I have extraordinary good eyes, and you will not doubt it when I tell you that I sewed the body of a dead man together in place where I had not so much light as to heave now." "A dead body!" exclaimed the robber with affected amazement. Yes, yes," answered Baba Mustapha. "I see you want me to speak out, but you shall know no more." The robber felt sure that he had discovered what he sought. He pulled out a piece of gold, and putting it into Mustapha's hand, said to him, "I do not want to learn your secret, though I can assure you you might safely trust me with it. The only thing I desire of you is to show me the house where you stitched up the dead body." "If I were disposed to do you that favor," replied Baba Mustapha, "I assure you I cannot. I was taken to a certain place, whence I was led blindfolded to the house, and afterward brought back in the same manner. You see, therefore, the impossibility of my doing what you desire." "Well," replied the robber, "you may, however, remember a little of the way that you were led blindfold. Come, let me blind your eyes at the same place. We will walk together. Perhaps you may recognize some part,
and as everyone should be paid for his trouble, here is another piece of gold for you. Gratify me in what I ask for." So saying, he put another piece of gold in his hand. The 2 pieces of gold were great temptations to Baba Mustapha. He looked at them a long time in his hand, without saying a word, but at last he pulled out his purse and put them in. "I cannot promise," he said to the robber, "that I can remember the way exactly, but since you desire, I will try what I can do." At these words, Baba Mustapha rose up, to the great joy of the robber, and led him to the place where Morgiana had bound his eyes. "It was here," said Baba Mustapha. "I was blindfolded and turned this way." The robber tied his handkerchief over his eyes and walked him till he stopped directly at Kasim's house, where Alibaba then lived. The thief, before he pulled off the band, marked the door with a piece of chalk which he had ready in his hand, and then asked him if he knew whose house that was. To which Baba Mustapha replied that, as he did not live in that neighborhood, he could not tell. The robber, finding that he could discover no more from Baba Mustapha, thanked him for the trouble he had taken and let him go back to his stall, while he returned to the forest, persuaded that he should be very well received. A little after the robber and Baba Mustapha had parted, Morgiana went out of Ali Baba's house upon some errand, and upon her return, seeing the mark the robber had made, stopped to observe it. "What can be the meaning of this mark?" she said to herself. "Somebody intends my master no good. However, with whatever intention it was done, it is advisable to guard against the worst." Accordingly, she fetched a piece of chalk and marked 2 or 3 doors on each side in the same manner, without saying a word to her master or mistress. In the meantime, the robber rejoined the troop in the forest and recounted to them his success, expatiating upon his good fortune in meeting so soon that the only person who could inform him of what he wanted to know. All the robbers listened to him with the utmost satisfaction. Then the captain, after commending his diligence, addressing himself to them all, said, "Comrades, we have no time to lose. Let us set off well armed, without its appearing who we are, but that we may not excite any suspicion. Let only 1 or 2 go into town together, and join at our rendezvous, which shall be the great square. In the meantime, our comrade who brought us the good news and I will go find the house, that we may consult what best to be done." This speech and plan was approved by all, and they were soon ready. They filed off in parties of 2, each, after some interval of time, and got into town, without being in the least suspected. The captain, and he who had visited the town in the morning as spy, came in at last. He led the captain to the street where he had marked Ali Baba's residence, and when they came to the first of the houses which Morgiana had marked, he pointed it out. But the captain observed the next door was chalked in the same manner, and in the same place. Showing it to his guide, asked him which house it was, that, or the first. The guide was so confounded that he knew not what answer to make, but he was still more puzzled when he and the captain saw 5 or 6 houses similarly marked. He assured the captain with an oath that he had marked but 1, and could not tell who had chalked the rest, so that he could not distinguish the house which the cobbler had stopped at.
I mean, that's still good. I mean, it's only a couple of houses. Just kill them all.
What?
Kill. Well, I'm just saying.
No!
Instead of just... Oh, for the love of...
No, Luca, we don't murder people.
These robbers, killed the dude's brother, even though the brother was a rich a-hole. So it was like, just kill them all and just like, and that's it.
Look, no.
I'm just being efficient, okay?
Yeah, I can tell. No.
Man.
None of that nonsense. We ain't killing people, right? They're not killing people.
Pretty sure.
I hope they're not killing people, okay? That's all I'm trying to say.
They just killed the person at the very beginning of the
Yeah,
story. Okay?
yeah. Okay. The captain, finding that their design had proved abortive, went directly to their place of rendezvous and told his troop that they had lost their labor and must return to their cave. He himself had set them to the example, and they all returned as they had come. When the troop was all got together, the captain told them the reason for the returning, and presently the conductor has declared, "By all worthy of death." He condemned himself, acknowledging that he ought to have taken better precaution, and prepared to receive the stroke from him who was appointed to cut off his head. But as to the safety of the troop required the discovery of the second intruder into the cave. Another of the gang, who promised himself that he should succeed better, presented himself, and his offer being accepted, he went and corrupted Baba Mustafa as the other had done, and being shown the house, marked it in a place more remote from sight with red chalk. Not long after, Morgiana, whose eyes nothing could escape, went out, and seeing the red chalk, and arguing with herself as she had done before, marked the other neighbors' houses in the same place and the same manner.
You're telling me they could have just gone to the old man at this point? The old man's gonna get rich. Oh, okay. 3 more pieces of gold, please.
Yeah, sure.
And I will do the same thing.
Right? Oh my gosh.
Oh, my memory is a little bit hazy.
It's a bit hazy.
Maybe 5 pieces. Oh,
Can
again?
I get 10 this time?
Yeah, my business is valuable. 100.
Wow. I mean, they got a lot. They could give it to him.
Yep. And then they killed the old man back to get the money.
Oh, thanks, Ham. Thanks for the blankie. Now I'm cozy. Cozy and talking about carnage. Lovely. Cozy carnage, right? Cozy carnage. Alright. Okay. Did I just read it? Yep, okay. I was making sure. For some reason I thought I was in the middle. The robber, on his return to his company, valued himself much on the precaution he had taken, which he looked upon as an infallible way of distinguishing Alibaba's house from the others, and the captain and all of them thought it must succeed. They conveyed themselves into the town with the same precaution as before. When the robber and his captain came to the street, they found the same difficulty, at which the captain was enraged, and the robber in as great confusion as his predecessor. Welcome back, Jaju!
Welcome, welcome.
Thus, the captain and his troop were forced to retire a second time, and much more dissatisfied, while the robber, who had been the author of the mistake, underwent the same punishment which he willingly submitted to. The captain, having lost 2 brave fellows of his troop, was afraid of diminishing it too much by pursuing this plan to get information of the residence of their plunderer. He found by their example that their heads were not so good as their hands on such occasions, and therefore resolved to take upon himself the important commission. Accordingly, he went and addressed himself to Baba Mustafa, who did him the same service he had done to the other robbers. He did not set any particular mark on the house, but examined and observed it so carefully by passing often by it that it was impossible for him to mistake it. Which is exactly as the other 2 should have done. Not trying to say anything by that, but you should have just memorized it. The captain, well satisfied with this attempt, or his attempt, and informed of what he wanted to know, returned to the forest, and when he came into the cave where the troop waited for him, said, "Now, comrades, nothing can prevent our full revenge, as I am certain of this house, and on my way hither, I have thought of how to put it into execution. But if anyone can form a better expedient, let them communicate it."
Good night, Jaju. Have a nice sleep.
Yeah, good night, Jaju. Thanks for coming back just to say bye-bye. I hope you have a good restful sleep, and we will see you again soon, okay? Nighty-night. Yokai, bye-bye.
Yokai, bye-bye.
He then told them, as his contrabands, that they approved it, ordered them to go into the villages about and buy 19 mules and 38 large leather jars, one full of oil and the others empty. In 2 or 3 days' time, the robbers had purchased the mules and jars, and as the mouths of the jars were rather too narrow for his purpose, the captain caused them to be widened, and after having put one of his men into each, with the weapons which he had brought fit, leaving open the seam which had been undone to leave them room to breathe, he rubbed the jars on the outside with oil from the full vessel. And now when you think jars, these are really big, big jars. Okay? Not little jars. Not fairy jars, alright? Everybody, big, big jars.
Enough to stick a human in there.
Yeah. Things being thus prepared, when the 19 mules were loaded, with 37 robbers and jars, and the jar of oil, the captain, as their driver, set out with them and reached the town by dusk of the evening, as he had intended. He led them through the streets till he came to Alibaba's, at whose door he had designed to have knocked, but was prevented by his sitting there after supper to take a little fresh air. He stopped his mules, addressing himself to him, and said, "I have brought some oil a great way to sell at tomorrow's market, and it is now so late that I do not know where to lodge. If I should not be troublesome to you, do me a favor to let me pass the night with you, and I shall be very much obliged by your hospitality."
Why are people going to Alibaba's house? Isn't he still poor?
No. He lives at Kasim's house now.
Oh, dang. See, I missed that.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I kind of was like, I thought he still lived at his house.
Nah. Have a nice sleep, you nerd. Hi, Lupine. Hello
Lupine.
there. Though Alibaba had seen the captain of the robbers in the forest, and had heard him speak, it was impossible to know him in the disguise of the oil merchant. He told him he should be welcome, and immediately opened the gates for the mules to go to the yard. At the same time, he called to his slave and ordered him, when the mules were unloaded, to put them in the stable and to feed them, and then went to Morgiana to bid her get a good supper for his guest. "Hello, are ya winning?" "Of course, always winning." After they had finished supper, Alibaba, charging Morgiana afresh to take care of his guest, said to her, "Tomorrow morning, I design to go to the bath before day. Take care of my bathing linen, be ready. Give them to Abdallah," okay, which was the slave's name. Okay, another slave. "And make me some good broth against I return." After this, he went to bed. In the meantime, the captain of the robbers went into the yard and took off the lid of each jar, and gave his people orders what to do. Beginning at the first jar, and so to the last, he said to each man, "As soon as I throw some stones out of the chamber window where I lie, do not fail to come out, and I will immediately join you." After this, he returned into the house. When Morgiana, taking up a light, conducted him to his chamber, where she left him, and he, to avoid any suspicion, put the light out soon after, and laid himself down in his clothes, that he might be the more ready to rise. Guess I'll just do it this way. Morgiana, remembering Alibaba's orders, got his bathing linen ready and ordered Abdallah to set on the pot for the broth. But while she was preparing it, the lamp went out, and there was no more oil in the house, nor any candles. What to do she did not know, for the broth must be made. Abdallah, seeing her very uneasy, said, "Do not fret and tease yourself, but go to the yard and take some oil out of one of the jars." Morgiana thanked Abdallah for his advice. Oh, I thought it was a person. Like, lady, but I read it wrong. My bad. I'm sorry, Abdallah. And took out the oil pot and went into the yard. When she came nigh for the first jar, the robber within said softly, "Is it time?" Though naturally much surprised at finding a man in a jar instead of the oil she wanted, she immediately felt the importance of keeping silence, as Alibaba, his family, and herself were in great danger. And collecting herself without showing the least emotion, she answered, "Not yet, but presently." She went quietly in this manner to all the jars, giving the same answer, till she came to the jar of oil.
Dang, this is a smart slave here.
Super smart. By this means, Morgiana found that her master, Alibaba, had admittedly 38 robbers in his house, and that this pretended oil merchant was their captain. She made what haste she could to fill her oil pot and returned into the kitchen, where soon as she lit her lamp, she took a great knife, went again to the oil jar, filled the kettle, set it on a large wood fire, and as soon as it boiled, went and poured enough into every jar to stifle and destroy the robber within.
Holy heck, destroy this.
Whoa, that's epic and really, wow, okay. When this action, worthy of the courage of Morgiana, was executed without any noise, as she had projected, she returned into the kitchen with an empty kettle, and having put out the great fire she had made to boil the oil, and leaving just enough to make the broth, put out the lamp also, and remained silent, resolving not to go to rest till, through a window of the kitchen, which opened into the yard, she had seen that might follow.
Dang, consider is like, oh, but I'll make enough for the other person to eat. That's still my
Right?
duty.
Like, alright, I'm gonna make sure I do my job. But at the same time, I just killed like 38 guys.
How was your night? Not bad. I had to kill 38 people, but I got the broth ready. Did you get the linens? Ah, shoot, that's what I forgot.
We're laughing, it's not funny, but she's pretty amazing. Like, that's pretty... She's pretty epic.
Yes, she is.
She had not waited long before the captain of the robbers got up, opened the window, and, finding no light and hearing no noise or anyone stirring in the house, gave the appointed signal by throwing little stones, several of which hit the jars, but he doubted not by one sound they gave. He then listened, but not hearing or perceiving anything, whereby he could not judge that his companion stirred. He began to grow very uneasy, threw stones again a second and also a third time, and could not comprehend the reason that none of them should answer his signal. Much alarmed, he went softly down into the yard, and going to the first jar, while asking the robber, whom he thought alive, if he was in readiness, smelled the hot boiled oil, which sent forth a steam out of the jar. Hence he knew that his plot to murder Alibaba and plunder his house was discovered. Examining all the jars, one after another, he found that all his gang were dead. And enraged to despair at having failed in his design, he forced the lock of a door that led from the yard to the garden, and climbing over the walls, made his escape. When Morgiana saw him depart, she went to bed, satisfied and pleased to have succeeded so well in saving her master and her family. Alibaba rose before day and, followed by his slave, went to the baths, entirely ignorant of the important event which had happened at home. When he returned from the baths, he was very much surprised to see all the oil jars, and to learn that the merchant was not gone with the mules. He asked Morgiana who opened the door, and reason of it. "My good master," she answered, and answered she, "God preserve you and all your family. You will be better informed of what you wish to know when you have seen what I have to show you, if you follow me."
Ew, what is this? Ick. Get out of here.
As soon as Morgiana had shut the door, Alibaba followed her. When she requested him to look into the first jar and see if there was any oil, Alibaba did so, and seeing a man, stared back in alarm and cried out. "Oh, get murdered!" Yes, Callie, all of the murder. There was a lot of murder.
30.
So
30
much
people
murder.
died.
"Do not be afraid," said Morgiana. "The man you see there can neither do you nor anyone else any harm. He is dead." Thank you, Callie.
Epic song to get murdered by.
"Ah," Morgiana said, "Alibaba, what is it you show me? Explain yourself." "I will," replied Morgiana. "Moderate your astonishment, and not to excite the curiosity of your neighbors, for it is of great importance to keep this affair secret. Look into the other jars." Alibaba examined all the other jars, one after another, and when he came to that which had the oil in it, found it progressively sunk, and stood for some time motionless, sometimes looking at the jars and sometimes at Morgiana, without saying a word, so great was his surprise. At last, when he had recovered himself, he said, "And what has become of the merchant?" "Merchant," answered she. "He is as much one of them as I am. I will tell you who he is, and what has become of him. But you had better hear the story in your own chamber, for it is time for your health that you had your broth after your bathing."
Okay.
It's like she knew, like, if he ate, he would be vomiting. It's like, okay, now you saw this. Time to go eat first, and then I'll tell the rest.
Oh, God.
Like, girl, I ain't gonna have no appetite after seeing 38 bodies.
Morgiana then told him all she had done, from the first observing the mark upon the house to the destruction of the robbers, and the flight of their captain. On hearing of these brave deeds from the lips of Morgiana, Alibaba said to her, "God, by your means, has delivered me from the snares of these robbers laid for my destruction. I owe, therefore, my life to you, and, for the first token of my acknowledgment, I give you your liberty from this moment, till I can complete your recompense as I intend." Alibaba's garden was very long and shaded at the farther end by a great number of large trees. Near these he had the slave Abdallah dig a trench long and wide enough to hold the bodies of the robbers, and as the earth was light, they were not long in doing it. When this was done, Alibaba hid the jars and weapons, and as he had no occasion for the mules, he sent them at different times to be sold in the market by his slave. When Alibaba was taking these measures, the captain of the 40 robbers returned to the forest with inconceivable mortification. He did not stay long. The loneliness of the gloomy cavern became frightful to him. He determined, however, to avenge the death of his companions, and to accomplish the death of Alibaba. For this purpose, he returned to town and took a lodging in a khan, disguised himself as a merchant in silks, Under this assumed character, he gradually conveyed a great many sort of rich stuffs and fine linen to his lodging from the cavern, but with all the necessary precautions to conceal the place whence he brought them. In order to dispose of the merchandise, when he had thus amassed them together, he took a warehouse, which happened to be the opposite of Cassim's, which Alibaba's son had occupied since the death of his uncle. He took the name Kogya Hosen. Hosen? It's so hard. I want to say it like Japanese, but it's not. It's not. This is Middle Eastern name. Kogya Husan. I think that's how you would say it.
Yeah.
And as a newcomer was, according to custom, extremely civil and complacent to all the merchants his neighbors. Alibaba's son was, from his vicinity, one of the first to converse with Kagya Husan, who strove to cultivate his friendship more particularly. 2 or 3 days after he was settled, Alibaba came to see his son, and the captain of the robbers recognized him at once, and soon learned from his son who he was. After this, he increased his hostilities, caressed them in the most engaging manner, made him some small presents, and often asked him to dine and sup with him, when he treated him very handsomely. Alibaba's son did not choose to lie under such obligation, Kogya Hassan, but was so much straitened for want of room in his house that he could not entertain him. He therefore acquainted his father, Alibaba, with his wish to invite him in return. Alibaba, with great pleasure, took the treat upon himself. "Son," said he, "tomorrow being Friday, which is a day that the shops of such great merchants as Kogya Husan and yourself are shut, get him to accompany you, and as you pass by my door, call in. I will go and order Morgiana to provide a supper." The next day, Alibaba's son and Kogya Husan met by appointment, took their walk, and as they returned, Alibaba's son led Kogya Hassan through the street where his father lived, and when they came to the house, stopped and knocked at the door. "This, sir," said he, "is my father's house, who, from account I have given him of your friendship, charged me to procure him and the honor of your acquaintance, and I desire you to add this pleasure to those for which I am already indebted you." Though it was the sole aim of Kogya Husan to introduce himself to Alibaba's house, that he might kill him without hazarding his own life or making any noise, yet he excused himself and offered to take his leave. But a slave having opened the door, Alibaba's son took him obligingly by the hand and in a manner forced him in. Alibaba received Kogya Hassan with a smiling countenance, and in the most obliging manner he could wish. He thanked him for all the favors he had done his son, adding, withal, the obligation was the greater, as he was a young man and not much acquainted with the world, and that he might contribute to his information. Kogya Hassan returned the compliment by assuring Alibaba that though his son might not have acquired the experience of older men, he had good sense equal to the experience of many others. After a little more conversation on different subjects, he offered again to take his leave, when Alibaba, stopping him, said, "Where are you going, sir, in so much haste? I beg you, will you do me the honor to sup with me, though my entertainment may not be worthy of your acceptance? Such as it is, I heartily offer it." "Sir," replied Kogya Husan, "I am thoroughly persuaded of your goodwill, but the truth is, I can eat no victuals, and I have any salt in them. Therefore, judge how I would feel at your table." "If that is the only reason," said Alibaba, "it ought not deprive me of the honor of your company, for, in the first place, there is no salt ever put into my bread, and as it is to the meat we shall have tonight, I promise there shall be none in that. Therefore, you must do me the favor to stay. I will return immediately." Alibaba went into the kitchen and ordered Morgiana to put no salt to the meat that was to be dressed that night, and to make quickly 2 or 3 ragouts, besides that he had ordered, but to be sure to put no salt in them. Morgiana, who was always ready to obey her master, could not help being surprised at his strange order. "Who is this strange man," she said, "who eats no salt with his meat? Your supper will be spoiled if I keep it back so long." "Do not be angry, Morgiana," replied Alibaba. "He is an honest man, therefore do as I bid you." Morgiana obeyed, though with no little reluctance, and had the curiosity to see this man who ate no salt. To this end, when she had finished what she had to do in the kitchen, she helped Abdallah to carry up the dishes, and looking at Cogia Hassan, she knew him at first sight, notwithstanding his disguise, to be the captain of the robbers, and examining him very carefully, perceived that he had a dagger under his garment. She's a very observant, very smart lady.
Like, dang, is she the MC in this story? I didn't realize that.
She is, yeah. Learning things, aren't we?
Apparently, she got reincarnated, but retained the level 100 max level stats you get when you come back.
"I am not the least bit amazed," she said to herself, "that this wicked man, who is my master's greatest enemy, would eat no salt with him, since he intends to assassinate him. But I will prevent him." Morgiana, while they were at supper, determined in her own mind to execute one of her boldest acts ever meditated. When Abdallah came for the dessert of fruit, and had put it in with the wine and glasses before Alibaba, Morgiana retired, dressed herself neatly with a suitable headdress like a dancer, girded her waist with a silver gilt girdle, to which there hung a poignard with a hilt and a guard of the same metal, and put a handsome mask on her face. When she had thus disguised herself, she said to Abdallah, "Take your tabor, and let us go and divert our master and his son's friend, as we do sometimes when he is alone." Abdallah took his tabor and played all the way to the hall before Morgiana, who, when she came to the door, made a low obstinance by way of asking leave to exhibit her skill, while Abdallah left off playing. "Come in, Morgiana," said Alibaba, "and let Cogia Hassan see what you can do, that he may tell us what he thinks of your performance." Cogia Hassan, who did not expect this diversion after supper, began to fear he should be able to take advantage of the opportunity he thought he had found, but hoped, if he now missed his aim, to secure it another time by keeping up a friendly correspondence with the father and son. Therefore, though he could have wished Alibaba would have declined the dance, he pretended to be obliged to him, and had the compliances to express his satisfaction at which he saw, which pleased the host. As soon as Abdallah saw that Alibaba and Cogia Hassan, who had done talking, he began to play on the tabor, and accompany it with an air to which Morgiana, who was an excellent performer, danced in such a manner as would have created admiration in any company. After she had danced several dances with much grace, she drew the poignard, and holding it in her hand, began a dance in which she outdid herself by many different figures, light movements, and the surprising leaps and wonderful extensions by which she accompanied it. Sometimes she presented the poignard to one breast, sometimes to another, and oftentimes seemed to strike her own. At last she snatched the tabor from Abdallah with her left hand, and holding the dagger with her right, presented the other side of the tabor, after the manner of those who get a livelihood by dancing, and solicit the liberality of the spectators. Alibaba put a piece of gold in the tabor, as did also his son, and Cogia Hassan, seeing that she was coming to him, had pulled his purse out of his bosom to make her a present. But while he was putting his hand into it, Morgiana, with a courage and resolution worthy of herself, plunged the poignard into his heart.
Holy heck.
Alibaba and his son, shocked at this action, cried aloud. "Unhappy woman!" exclaimed Alibaba. "What have you done to ruin me and my family?" "It was to preserve you, not to ruin you," answered Morgiana. "For see here," continued she, opening the pretended Kage-Husan's garment and showing the dagger. "What an enemy you have entertained! Look well at him, and you will find him to be both the fictitious oil merchant and the captain of the gang of 40 robbers. Remember, too, that he would eat no salt with you, and what would you have more to persuade you of his wicked design? Before I saw him, I suspected him as soon as you told me you had such a guest. I knew him, and you now find that my suspicion was not groundless." Alibaba, who immediately felt the new obligation he had to Morgiana for saving his life a second time, embraced her. "Morgiana," said he, "I gave you your liberty and then promised you that my gratitude should not stop there, but that I would soon give you higher proofs of its sincerity, which I do now by making you my daughter-in-law." Then, addressing himself to his son, he said, "I believe you, son, to be so dutiful a child that you will not refuse Morgiana for your wife. You see that Kage-Husan sought your friendship with a treacherous design to take away my life, and if he had succeeded, there is no doubt he would have sacrificed you also to his revenge. Consider that by marrying Morgiana, you marry the preserver of my family and your own." The son, far from showing any dislike, readily consented to the marriage, not only because he would not disobey his father, but also because it was agreeable to his inclination. As in, he liked her.
Oh, okay. Here I thought, wow. It's like, oh, okay, Dad. I guess I'll marry her.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. After this, they thought of burying the captain of the robbers with his comrades, but did it so privately that nobody discovered their bones till many years after, when no one had any concern that the publication of this remarkable history. A few days afterwards, Alibaba celebrated the nuptials of his son and Morgiana with great solemnity, a sumptuous feast, and the usual dancing and spectacles, and had the satisfaction to see that his friends and neighbors, whom he had invited, had no knowledge of the true motives of the marriage, but that those who were not unacquainted with Morgiana's good qualities commended his generosity and goodness of heart. Alibaba did not visit the robbers' cave for a whole year, as he supposed the other two, whom he could get no account of, might be alive. At the year's end, when he found that they had not made any attempt to disturb him, he had the curiosity to make another journey. He mounted his horse, and when he came to the cave, he alighted, tied his horse to a tree, and approached the entrance, pronounced the words, "Open Sesame," and the door opened. He entered the cavern, and by the condition he found things in, judged that nobody had been there since the captain had fetched the goods for his shop. From this time he believed he was the only person in the world who had the secret of opening the cave, and that all the treasure was at his sole disposal. He put as much gold onto his saddlebag as the horse would carry, and returned to town. Some years later, he carried his son to the cave and taught him the secret, which he handed down to his posterity, who, using their good fortune with moderation, lived in great honor and splendor.
Yay!
The end.
What a good story! And a lot of murders.
I love how it's like they talk about it at the top, like the title. They're like, it's called Alibaba and the 40 Thieves, but technically it's the history of Alibaba and the 40 robbers killed by one slave.
I know. Oh. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh. It shouldn't it be called Morgiana and the 40 Thieves?
Right, it should be called Morgiana and the 40 Thieves. Well, whatever.
What the hell did Alibaba do all this time? He just found gold, and then after that, he couldn't. He served the captain twice. Oh, I don't know you. Hey, you want to come in? Oh, snap! Even though I met you the next day, you want to come in?
Right?
Like,
Sheesh.
Morgana's like, oh my god, time to do it again.
Yep. Time
I
to
would
do
not
it
be
again.
surprised if Morgana was just like killed. Like whenever like Alibaba has like some sort of guest that comes in. This person does not want salt. He's evil. I will kill him for you, master. And he does.
I think it was
She just got lucky.
something about salt. It's part of like part of their culture. I forget. It's like he didn't want to have salt with him because he was gonna kill him, like that sort of thing.
Oh.
Yeah.
All right. Still. Ahoy, Captain! Ahoy! And Cavity in the big brain.
Wait. Ahoy, Captain.
Ahoy.
Oh, I like that Luca did it. Ahoy. It me. Oh, Callie's big brain. Okay. We want to thank everyone who comes to read during story time. I know that not necessarily it's the most interesting thing all the time, but it is something I enjoy doing. So I don't do this for like any specific people or for any specific reason, but I like reading things. I like doing voices. I like doing all of that stuff. So anybody who comes to enjoy it, I really appreciate you, and you all are wonderful, and yeah. So thanks, chat. You're big brain. You're pretty awesome. Shanks.
Yes. It was a very nice, good story. The history of Alibaba and the 40 Thieves killed by one slave.
Yes. That's what the story is. Been cozy to listen to. Nyaki-sa! You been listening? You been lurking? How are you feeling? Are you feeling okay today? I'm sure you don't feel the greatest, but I like to check up on you.
The whole time.
Listening the whole time. Heard the whole story.
Alright. How about we take a little stretch? Stretch with it. I'm gonna stretch.
It was my first story time with Kyo and Luke, and I loved it. Yay! I'm glad you liked it, Toda. Thanks for coming. Yeah, we still have 2 more stories to read. But, yeah, I'm taking... Oh, thanks, Luca. I'll check. I'm gonna take a break for my throat for a minute. Because that is a lot of reading in succession.
Well, Kyo takes a little breather. I just stretched, took a little water. Let your Uncle Luca take you after this point. Don't trust Luca. He's crazy.
Okay, one second. I'll still be here. I'm just
Don't worry, I'll be here.
I'm just gonna looking at you through my eyeballs. I'm just stretching.
Okay. Short little break right now. We're gonna play our usual game, everyone. Anyone's more than welcome to participate. This time, we're gonna guess what that story is. It's gonna be guess that video game, everyone. Per the usual, I will go ahead and tell you. I will describe what game it is, with as much little detail as possible, and I'll be changing certain aspects. You just have to guess it, okay? You have to guess it very specifically. Well, you get half points if you guess the series. You get the whole point if you guess the actual game.
Yep.
Alright. So, let's begin. We'll just do a few games. And then we'll continue with the next story.
Yep.
Is that okay?
Sounds good.
Don't mind me.
Okay, everyone. Here's the first one. One day in the... No, Ham, no. One day in the middle of the night, in a rainy storm, a Fua woke up in the middle of the night. He had a bad premonition.
Oh, I know
So
this one.
Fua ran out in the middle of the rain,
Mm-hmm.
and while he was searching for walking around on a certain building,
Mm-hmm.
he fell into a hole.
I'm sure.
Then when he went and explored this hole, he found his dead great grandfather,
Mm-hmm.
Fua Senpai? Son?
Oji-san?
Oji-san.
Mm-hmm.
In his dying words, he says, I have been given a great mission.
Mm-hmm.
Please, you must protect Princess Fua.
Yeah. I know this one. I can't answer though, I'm not allowed.
You gotta save Tengu Hime.
Yep.
And so, he took his grandfather's lantern, sword. Did he have a sword? I don't know. He took his lantern, sword, maybe a shield, and then he went into the building. But along the way, he encountered guards.
Mm-hmm.
They were patrolling them, but they were not the usual guards.
Mm-hmm.
So he had to sneak through, and he went to the deepest basement and found the Princess Tengu was actually being trapped in a dungeon cell.
Mm-hmm.
So Fuwa-san rescued the princess. A
Yep.
Link to the Past. Yep, there you go.
Yeah,
Ham.
yep, you got it.
Congratulations.
Oh, Tora, you're on the right track. Good job.
Here, let me get a sticky note for this one. Ah,
Right track. Good job.
Ham gets 1 point. Can we give out points?
If you want to. Oh, like
I mean, I don't know how. I don't
know how that works.
I don't know how to give points. I would like to give points, or maybe we can offer them a redeem or something of their choosing.
Well, that's true.
10,000 redeem. Let's see what happens. Ham 1 point. I don't know. I'm just thinking about it. If I could give out points, that'd be great. No, Ham. No. All
Next
right.
time, Tora. Yeah, keep trying.
Okay. Let's see. Oh, wait. Been so long. Okay, how about this? Okay. I have another one. Wait, is that a good one? It's really hard. Okay. So, no. Oh my god, I only know that one game.
Are you
Give me a
kidding
moment, everyone. Give me a moment. It's too many games, okay? Okay, here's one. Fua and Princess Tengu came out were going on vacation.
I know this one.
They were exhausted
Mm-hmm.
from the past year's events
Yep.
after defeating a certain person, right? So they were actually traveling to a location of their choosing, just to relax.
Yep.
And when they got there, it was a mess.
Yep.
Like, holy heck, it was trash. Okay, y'all? It was so trashy that there were marks everywhere. And to make it worse, something happened to the Princess Tengu.
Mm-hmm.
And she got swept away by the villain known as Kisa the Oni.
Mm-hmm.
So now in order to actually save Kyo the Tengu princess, Fua So it has to clean up the island to, save the world somehow. I mean, I don't know why you need to clean up the island in the first place, but hey, he has to do what he has to do. So he's helping the locals like clean up their place because apparently clean up the island actually helps make everything more better. So I was like, you know what, fine, whatever. Well,
Yeah. You're on the right
half
track.
point, half point. But and while he's cleaning up the island, he then has to travel to the tallest building. There we go. All right. Yuki got half the point. That is correct. It is Mario Bros. Ham got the whole point. It is Mario Sunshine.
Mario Sunshine.
Yuki. Half. Ham, 2 points now.
Mario Odyssey.
Mario Odyssey. Wait, do you have to clean up in that place?
Is it Animal Crossing? Oh my gosh, that's funny.
There's no Princess Tengu there though.
Yes, so Mario Bros. The movie. Hello, save. You guys are funny.
Okay, here's one. In the All right, here's one. In the far future, there's a group of survivors. Fuwa wants to be part of a clan, but she's currently an outsider, right? So she has to prove her worth to the clan. But along the way, something happens. Something very tragic happens. Well, let me go a little bit back. So she's being trained by Kyo Tengu, right? She's being trained. She wants to be part of the clan, but they are exiled at the moment. So now they actually have to. So she wants to be part of the clan, right? So she has to prove her worth. She has to do an obstacle, but at the very end of the obstacle, something tragic happens, and the whole thing is actually interrupted, and now she has to find out why the certain other tribe did that to them. So along the way on this adventure, I guess, you start to see remnants of the past, like buildings that, even though in this place right now it's like prehistoric, but right now there's like, it's kind of like the future existed, like old buildings are already in ruin. So she has to travel the land in order to find the group of people that attacked her. And using her special ability that's able to perceive the past, she's able to locate the villains. But apparently they're actually being controlled by a vengeful spirit, as you will. They're god. They would consider it a god because it is not human. So now that she knows who it is, she then teams up with Fuwa then teams up with an Oni who actually made the entire clan. Like Kisa the Oni showed her the it does sound like the medium the most. No. It showed them the clan and how it was built, how they did it.
I'm lost. Metroid? Not quite.
Maybe I should go a little bit more. Maybe I should give them like a little detail. So apparently there are, even though it's the past, but it's in the future now.
Not
The
Halo.
cities are in ruins, and there are mechanical animals that resemble the past animals.
Yep. Nope. Not ear.
So yeah, the past animals. There's even like oh, maybe Captain knows it.
Yep.
Yep, Horizon.
Yep. You Cap got it first. Yep. Day before time, Alice.
I don't know what this video game. The Captain got it.
Same frame. Yes.
Sorry, that was a little bit. I had to make it very not too obvious because if I said mechanical dinosaurs, I'm pretty sure everyone would have got that. All right, Captain. 1 point.
I've never played it, but you said Mecha things, and I was like, oh right, Robo Rex Boy. I don't know that game. I haven't, I was gifted that game, but I never played it.
I played it though.
Yeah, Luke played it.
Oh man, but Kyo got the version that actually has the expansion though.
Yeah, not the newest one, not the, like...
She got the Zero Horizon, something about ice.
The ice one, yeah.
I can't wait to play the new one though. I
The-
can't wait to play the sequel, but
Yeah.
I heard there might be some bugs, so I'm not sure. Okay. 2 more, and then we can continue with the story.
Okay.
All right. This was a good one. So okay, deep in the ice forest, there is a Fuwa and his daughter Kiyo. They're living in the mountain. A very precious person passed. Actually,
Yeah,
oh man, I should have said that.
that was pretty obvious.
All right, Ham, you get another point. You didn't even let me finish. All right, let me see. It can't be Monster Hunter because they're just gonna see it right away. Don't worry. A game that we Okay. Okay, here's one. Actually, this one might be a little bit too hard. Well, I kind of understand the game. I kind of don't. I did play it, but let's see if you guys can get it. So, there is a... Alright. One day, a fool wakes up with no memories. He does not understand how he got there, but he wakes up in a cavern. He travels through the realm, searching for the past. He does not know why, but something caused him. But he needs to go deeper and deeper into the cavern to find out the secrets. Along the way, he actually battles weird and mysterious creatures and also finds one of his own kind by the name of Kiyo. So they fight, and she tests out the Fuwa every time they do, in order to see if he is truly worthy of knowing the past.
Oh, I know this one. Okay, I got it. It took me a minute, but I got it.
So throughout his adventures, he doesn't know who he is, but he starts to find pieces of what the world is becoming to.
Mm-hmm.
It appeared to be... It was a very grand city,
Mm-hmm.
but the city descended into darkness. There was no way around it. It was a corrosive darkness. And a long time ago, a great hero locked himself inside and sealed all the darkness within him into a special chamber that only the king places seal on. So now he has to find this seal in order to... There we go! Zep got it.
Yep. Hollow Knight. I got it after
Alright.
you said that the person tests him over and over. I was like, oh, gotcha.
Exactly. It, like I said, it was from what I played with it. It took me from what I played with it. I think that's what the story is.
Yeah, it is.
All right. So final score: Ham 3, Captain Zep 1 each, and Yuki half. So we might continue the game afterwards. We'll see. Maybe. But let us continue the story. Is everyone okay with that?
You should play one more.
One more?
Just one more, yeah.
Okay, one more. This is worth 5 points then. Whoever gets it wins the game.
Oh, jeez, okay.
uh,
Hi, Silo! Welcome back.
okay, here's one. Alright. On this island, there are huge, monstrous creatures. They have to survive. In order to survive, there's some sort of monster that's actually that's disrupted the ecosystem.
Oh.
So you are now tasked on saving. There we go. Wait, that was kind of. There we go. I was kind of joking with that, but you know what? No one was not even saying anything. Oh wait, you know what? Specifically, I was thinking about Monster Hunter World. Okay, I was kind of joking with that one, but we'll do one more. But I'll still give you the point for that one. 1 point, not 5. Okay. Give me one moment, everyone.
Wait. Tor might be lagging or delayed, so I think you should give her a point.
Fine. 1 point. It's a new content.
I'll take my half a point. Yeah, give them both half a point.
Half point?
Yeah.
Alright. So Yuki has 1. Currently, Captain has 1.5. Alright. I really should look at other games other than the PS4.
Yes.
Let's switch it up a notch. But it can't be something that's too popular. It has to be something that can't be too popular. Okay. So this one is all right. So this one doesn't actually have a story. It's actually just a. This one doesn't have a story, but I'm gonna make a story. If you can guess, go with the vision novel, and nobody will get it. Yeah, no, I'm not doing that. Okay. This one does not have a story. I'm going to make up a story. Whoever gets this wins the tournament.
It's
Okay.
a tournament?
I just made it a tournament. So whoever gets it gets 5 points. They win the game. So this is the free for all. Guess it, okay? Again, does not have a story, but I will make it into a story. Maple story. Good one, I guess. Good one, Yuki. Okay. There were a group of there were 3 people. There was a group of friends. Kiyo, Fuwa, and Kisa. They just came out from college. They were finally making it into the world. So along the way, they were actually traveling, and they actually had a lot of opportunities. Okay, a lot of opportunities. They came back from college. They were wanted to expand their business. But in order to expand their business, they needed to buy. Well, they needed to buy assets. They need to play the market. You know what I mean? So they were actually just, buying locations here and there. They were Yeah, that's right. It's Monopoly.
Wow.
I did not think Cam would actually
I mean, you said it was. Jesus Christ. Animal Crossing. That is a good guess, Toda. I would say that. Oh, whoops, I almost dropped something. That is a really good guess. Because it has to deal with the economy and buying property.
Yep. I was going to start saying, but then there started being a backstab. And they were trying to buy out who was then put into debt
Tora.
and had.
Tora feels gypped. Sag. No! I got lost in Lucas' story crafting. I forgot it was attorney. No!
Well, here I'll tell you the rest afterward. I'll tell you right now what happened next then. So, and pretty much I'll just tell you. So they were buying plots of land here and there. It was actually kind of friendly. There was so much to go around, but as time went on, there actually started to become less and less property, and now they started to hate each other. So one day, Kisa and Kyo finally made a deal. They would split the profits between themselves, 50-50, if they could take out Luca, who actually owned a majority of the right side of the board, which was Broadway and all that. There were already hotels, okay?
Sure.
So they actually forced Luca in debt with a series of actually trading in lands, buying houses and hotels, and making him pay exorbitant fees. So he had no choice but to mortgage it off, but he was still too heavily in debt, and he actually had to go bankrupt.
Sad.
So then it was actually split between the two. But unknowingly, Kisa, who was actually a lot more smarter than Kyo, actually signed the contract that would trade in all of her property, and Kyo would actually get $1 in return. And that's actually where the friendship ended. Kyo owned the entire Wall Street, if you will, and Kyo and Fuo spent the rest of their lives in jail because they were bankrupt. The end. I hope you all like that story. Let's start, right, Kyo? Kyo?
I said, yep. Sorry, I was eating cake.
Nice. Did everyone like the story? Don't ever trust the Oni, everyone. And don't ever trust the Tengu, because they'll betray you.
Yes, cake.
Oh my god, the Three Kingdoms actually a Monopoly. You know what? I need to play this Three Kingdoms game. Is your throat all better now? Okay. I want to, since you can't tell a scary story to end the night, I want to start with that next one.
Like, the really scary one? It's not like really scary, but you know what I mean.
Yes, I want to do that one.
Okay.
The one with the two people.
Yeah, I got you.
Okay. Let me pull it up on my side. Oh, you're welcome, Captain.
Wait,
Yeah,
why are you
that's
squinting
right.
at me?
Yeah. Why? Funny enough, everyone, I actually played Catan the one and last time, and they did the exact same situation.
We played Catan, and we boxed Luca in, and he couldn't do anything.
Oh, the entire wall! I couldn't make any type of trade.
It was awesome.
Like,
that was
how do you?
The one time we played Catan, and we haven't played it since.
I mean, I think that's how we played it, right? I'm not sure, but you guys cheated. You guys cheated on me. You're not supposed to help each other build a whole wall against me.
All right. This next story. So I got some suggestions. So be forewarned. This next story is by the infamous or famous poet and writer Edgar Allan Poe. Getting into some classics. The story we will be reading is The Cask of Amontillado. And it is my favorite Edgar Allan Poe story. Good old edgy boy. Yes.
By the way, everyone, I never read this story. I actually heard a variation in the form of My Little Pony.
Yes. Yes. I have actually heard the story, the classics. Edgar Allan poem. Oh, ha! I have read the story and heard it many times, but apparently Luca has never actually read the real one and has only been privy to a My Little Pony fanfiction version. So...
It was still good.
I never said it wasn't good.
Maybe we should
No.
take a listen at that one.
Nope.
Fine.
Alright, I'm just drinking my tea.
Oh, I guess I'll drink some water.
Okay. So this...
We change our names on this one?
Yeah, I mean, if you want to, I can, instead of saying, oh my gosh, Fortunato, I can just say this Luca.
Yes.
You want me to?
Yes, do it. Do
Right,
it.
right.
I want that. Okay, everyone. You're gonna listen to a non-canon version of what happened in the past between me and Kyo. Please enjoy.
Yes, Cap, you're right, it is. You know what can't be DMCA'd? Classic music. The owners only get 70 years after death or something like that, so... Music always makes me laugh for some reason. It's my favorite classical piece. It is super pretty. Always. Alright. You ready?
Ready?
Alright, here we go. We begin. Edgar Allan Poe. The Casp of Amontillado. Luca had hurt me 1,000 times, and I had suffered quietly. But then I learned that he had laughed at my proud name, Auri, the name of an old and honored family. I promised myself that I would make him pay for this, and that I would have revenge. You must not suppose, however, that I spoke of this to anyone. I would make them pay, yes, but I would act only with the greatest care. I must not suffer as a result of working my revenge. A wrong is not made right in that manner, and also the wrong would not be made right unless Luca knew that he was paying and knew who was forcing him to pay. I gave Luca no cause to doubt me. I continued to smile in his face, and he did not understand that I was now smiling at the thought of what I had planned for him, and the thought of my revenge. Luca was a strong bull, a ghost to be feared, but he had one great weakness. He loved ramen, and proudly believed that he was trained to judge
each dish. I too knew ramen well. I bought the best I could find. And ramen, I thought. Ramen would give me my revenge. It was almost dark, one evening in the spring, when I met Luca in the street, alone. He spoke to me more warmly than was usual, for he had already partaken in more ramen than was good for him. I acted pleased to see him, and I shook his hand, or sleeve, as if he had been my closest friend. Luca, how are you?
Yo, good evening, my friend.
Oh, dear Luca, I am indeed glad that I have met you. I was just thinking of you, for I have been tasting my new ramen. I have bought a full serving of each fine ramen they tell me is the best. But
The best? Why, that's almost impossible. That's quite impossible, I have to say.
I know, it does not seem possible. As I could not find you, I was not just going to talk to Kisa. If anyone understands wine, it's Kisa. I mean, ramen. They will tell me.
Kisa? Man, she does not know the best ramen from another one.
But they say she knows as much as ramen as you know.
Ho, 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 come. Well, come, let us go then.
Go where?
To your to your vaults to taste this delicious ramen that you would need Kisa to speak for. You need Kisa for this.
No, my friend, no. I can see that you are not well, and the vaults are so cold and wet.
I do not care. Let us go. I am well enough. The cold is nothing. Robin.
Mm-hmm.
Someone is playing games with you. And Kisa, ha! Kisa knows nothing about ramen. Nothing at all.
As he spoke, Luca took my arm, and I allowed him to hurry me to my great stone palace, where my family, the Auris, had lived for centuries. There was no one at home. I had told the servants that they must not leave the palace, as I would not return until the following morning, and they must care for the place. This, I knew, was enough to make it certain that they would all leave as soon as my back was turned. I took down from their places on the wall 2 brightly burning lights. I gave one of these to Luca and led him to a wide doorway. There we could see the stone steps going down into the darkness. Asking him to be careful as he followed, I went down before him, down under the ground, deep under the old walls of my palace. We came finally to the bottom of the steps and stood there a moment together. The earth which formed the floor was cold and hard. We were entering the last resting place of the dead Audi family. Here, too, we kept our finest ramen in the cold, dark, still air under the ground. Keeps it fresh, you know.
I should have known better. Why would you keep ramen down here?
Luca's float was not so sure, because of the ramen they had been consuming prior. He looked uncertainly around him, trying to see through the thick darkness which pushed in around us. Here, our brightly burning lights seemed weak indeed, but our eyes soon became used to the darkness. We could see the bones of the dead laying in large piles along the walls. The stones of the walls were wet and cold. From the long rows of bottles which were laying on the floor among the bones, I chose one which contained a very good broth. Since I did not have anything to open the bottle with, I struck the stone wall with it and broke off the end and offered the bottle of broth to Luca. Here, Luca, drink some of this fine broth. It would help to warm you. Drink.
Oh my god, thank you, my friend. I drink to the dead who lie sleeping around us.
And I, Kyo, I drink to your long life.
But I'm already dead. Oh wait, no, I'm not dead yet. I'm not dead yet. Ah, a very fine broth, indeed. But what about the exquisite one?
Ah, it is further on. Come. We walked on for some time. We were now under the river's bed, and water fell in drops upon us from above. Deeper into the ground we went, past still more bones.
Your vaults are many and large. There seems to be no end to them, though.
Oh, but we are a great family, and an old one. It is not far now, but I can see that you are trembling with the cold. Come, let us go back before it is too late.
Man, this is nothing. Let's go on. But first, another drink of this delicious broth. Nom 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 nom.
I took up from among the bones yet another bottle of the broth. It was another fine quality miso. Again, I broke off the neck of the bottle. Luca took it and drank it, all without stopping for a breath. He laughed.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. This is the good stuff, all right.
And threw the empty bottle over his shoulder. We went on deeper and deeper into the earth. Finally, we arrived at a vault at which the air was so cold and heavy that our lights almost died. Against 3 of the walls, there were piles of bones higher than our heads. From 4th wall, someone had pulled down all the bones, and they were spread all around us on the ground. In the middle of the wall, there was an opening to another vault, if I can call it that. A little room about 3 feet wide, 6 or 7 feet high, and perhaps 4 feet deep. It was hardly more than a hole in the wall. Go on, I said. Go in. The finest ramen is in there. Luca continued to go forward uncertainly. I followed him immediately. Soon, of course, we reached the back wall. He stood there a moment, facing the wall, surprised and wondering in what wall were 2 heavy iron rings.
Huh, this is some nice rings here, yo.
Indeed. A short chain was hanging from one of these, and a lock from the other. Before Luca could guess what was happening, I closed the lock and chained his bowl tightly to the wall and stepped back. Luca, I said, put your hand against the wall. You must feel how the water runs over it. Once more I ask you, please, will you not go back? No? If not, then I must leave you. But first, I must do everything I can for you.
But what about the ramen?
Ah, yes, indeed. The ramen. As I spoke these words, I began to search among the bones. Throwing them one side, I found the stones which earlier I had taken down from the wall. Quickly, I began to build the wall again, covering the hole where Luca stood, trembling.
Kyo, what are you doing? Bro, come on, what are you doing?
I continued working. I could hear him rattling the chain, shaking it wildly. Only a few stones remained to put in their place.
Kyo! Okay, that's a good joke indeed. Many times we will laugh about it. So, as we drink our ramen together.
Of course, as we drink the exquisite ramen broth together.
Wait, is this me?
Yep.
But is it not late? Should we not be going back? They'll be expecting us. Yeah, let's go.
Yes, let's go. As I said this, I lifted the last stone from the ground.
Kyo, for the love of God!
Yes, for the love of God. I heard no answer. Luca! I cried. Luca! I heard only a soft, low sound, a half cry of fear. My heart grew sick. It must have been cold. I hurried to force the last stone in its position, and I put the old bones again in a pile against the wall. For half a century now, no human hand has touched them. May he rest in peace.
Dun dun dun.
You can eat those?
That's the true story, everyone. I used to be a human. But then, because of my ramen bowl, I died. And I possessed a ramen bowl. I haunt Kyo till this day.
That's not it, obviously.
I'll never forgive you, Kyo.
I didn't actually do that, though. It's a story.
You promised me ramen, and I'm still waiting it centuries later.
And he became a ramen bowl. You are what you drink, right? So yes, that was our rendition of the cask of Amontillado. Instead, it'll be the cask of exquisite ramen. Oh gosh, that was good.
Good.
Came to see a big ghost. Me likey. Hi, apples. How are you doing today? How goes? How goes the apples? Look at that award-winning smile. Yeah, look at it. Show your teeth. Nyang. Just coming home from work? Wow, good job. Good job, Apples. Long day of work. You did it. Proud of you.
Yay. Yay.
Yeah, we're proud of you.
It's a good story.
It's
I
good
like
story.
how we improvised.
Yeah, sometimes it's fun to just improvise.
Which one should we read next? Is the other one submitted, the yokai one, a scary one?
Apples! Why are you bonking me? What did I do? Ow! What? Because I'm vengeful? Because I stuck Luca in the wall and left him there? He's fine.
I'm dead because of you.
No, be proud. How dare be proud? What? Luca,
Oh, sorry, everyone.
you didn't turn Mix It Up, did you?
No.
Why do you forget?
It's more like I pressed the button and then I kind of expect it to actually just, turn on automatically.
That isn't how it works, and you know it.
I don't like this mix it up how I had to keep on clicking it over and over again. So, sorry, everyone. I'll get the blanket on as soon as possible. You know what I mean? I just expect to just click once and it turns on. Don't have to click multiple times.
It happens to be like that sometimes.
Yep. Yep. I don't get I'm cold, y'all.
Oh, there.
I thank you. I didn't feel like I don't know which buttons. I always get
Wow.
confused by my
Luca doesn't know the buttons.
So-
Have a great stream. I'm off to Zoom. Okay, Apples. Thanks for stopping by. I hope you have a wonderful day. Or I should say evening. And thank you.
Yep. Enjoy the best.
Yokai, bye-bye for now.
Okay, bye-bye.
All right.
Yeah. That's like I said. Don't know if you wanna.
Yeah, let's read this one. The last one. Because then we have the other ones that Cap gave us too.
Which one is the next one?
This one is the one I sent you.
Okay. Mirror?
No, the other one.
Hmm?
Here, I'll send it again. This one.
Ah, that one.
Which piece this is? This is the Bach Orchestral Suite Number 3 in D major. Air. Yep, Bach. But Chopin is in here, in this list. Just to let you know, it's Mozart, Chopin, Beethoven, Bach, Grieg, Satie, and Schumann that you'll be hearing in this list.
Helix is here, and they redeemed a yokai.
Ah, Helix, hello. Okay. Are you ready, Luca?
I'm ready.
Okay. 1, 2, 3. Yokai, hi,
Yokai, hi.
I am Kyo, the Cutie Crow Tengu.
I'm Luca, the ramen ghost.
And we are Yokai Playtime!
We're yokai time.
Yokai Playtime!
Yay! I'm Dave Kazukiyo.
No, you're not. You are a bull. You were never a person.
Yeah, that's true.
I'm Captain and I have a Pop-Tart. I'm sure you could guess them all, Silo. It's really nice. It's a live classical piano channel. Hello, Helix. Welcome. I hope you're having a wonderful day. If not, I hope it gets better, and I hope that you can come and be cozy and chill with us as we read stories for you. Okay, are you ready, Luca?
I'm ready.
Alright, let's read this next one. This one was suggested to me to read today by a friend. It is called The Lottery, 1948 by Shirley Jackson. It's only like 8 pages, so it shouldn't be bad. Okay. You ready? Let me take a sip
Ready.
of my juice. Okay. The morning of June 27th was clear and sunny, with the fresh warmth of a full summer day. The flowers were blossoming profusely, and the grass was richly green. The people of the village began to gather in the square, between the post office and the bank, around 10 o'clock. In some towns, there were so many people that the lottery took 2 days and had to be started on June 2nd. But in this village, there were only about 300 people, and the whole lottery took less than 2 hours. So it would begin at 10 o'clock in the morning and still be through in time to allow the villagers to get home for noon dinner. The children assembled first, of course. School was recently over for the summer, and the feeling of liberty sat uneasily on most of them. They tended to gather together quietly for a while before they broke into boisterous play, and their talk was still of the classroom and the teacher, of books and reprimands. Bobby Martin had already stuffed his pockets full of stones, and the other boys soon followed his example, selecting the smoothest and roundest stones. Bobby and Harry Jones, and Dickie Delacroix, the villagers pronounced his name Delacroix, eventually made a great pile of stones in one corner of the square, and guarded it against the raids of the other boys. The girls stood aside, talking amongst themselves, looking over their shoulders at rolled in the dust or clung to the hands of their older brothers or sisters. Soon the men began to gather, surveying their own children, speaking of planting and rain, tractors and taxes. They stood together away from the pile of stones in the corner, and their jokes were quiet. They smiled rather than laughed. The women, wearing faded house dresses and sweaters, came shortly after their menfolk.
They greeted one another and exchanged bits of gossip as they went to join their husbands. Soon, the women, standing by their husbands, began to call to their children, and the children came reluctantly, having to be called 4 or 5 times. Bobby Martin ducked under his mother's grasping hand and ran, laughing, back to the pile of stones. His father spoke up sharply, and Bobby came quickly and took his place between his father and eldest brother. Hi, Momo! Hello, Momo. Also, Silo, when I picked out this channel to listen to, I was like, I feel like Silo will enjoy this. That was the thought I had. Ahoy! Yeah! Ahoy to Momo! Yes. Your stream's always so good, so clean. What? Our streams are... What do you mean? I'm getting complimented on our stream cleanliness again.
What you mean?
That our streams are clean. Like, they look clean, like, sharp.
Oh, like they're not cluttered or something, or?
Yeah, they just look nice.
Oh.
It makes my heart warm.
He always works hard on these scenes.
Thank you, Bobo. The lottery was conducted, as were the square dances, the teen club, and Halloween program, by Mr. Summers, who had time and energy to devote to civic activities. He was a round-faced, jovial man, and he ran the coal business. The people were sorry for him because he had no children, and his wife was a scold. When he arrived in the square, carrying the black wooden box, there was a murmur of conversation among the villagers, and he waved and called. "Little late today, folks." The postmaster, Mr. Graves, followed him, carrying the 3-legged stool, and the stool was put on the center of the square, and Mr. Summers set the black box upon it. The villagers kept their distance, leaving a space between themselves and the stool. And when Mr. Summers said, "Some of you fellows want to give me a hand?" there was a hesitation before 2 men, Mr. Martin and his older brother Baxter, came forward to hold the box steady on the stool while Mr. Summers stirred up the papers inside. The original paraphernalia for the lottery had been lost long ago.
Keo?
What?
You, went out.
Huh?
You went out. I don't know if everyone heard that.
Like, my mic went out?
Yep, you were at Mr. Martin and his oldest son, Baxter, and then you cut off. I'm not sure if it was just me or if everyone was affected by it.
Oh, let me ask. I don't know, it might have been Discord. Did you guys hear everything, or did I cut out? No? Okay, it must have just been Discord then.
Okay, let's go.
Okay.
I don't want anyone to miss this.
Gotcha. So I went through, Luca, just so you know, it wasn't much. You didn't miss much. I was just starting the next paragraph.
I'm reading along with you.
Okay. No, I'm just letting you know where I was.
Okay.
Okay, so the original paraphernalia for the lottery had been lost long ago, and the black box now resting on the stool had been put into use even before Old Man Warner, the eldest man in town, was born. Mr. Summers spoke frequently to the villagers about making a new box, but no one liked to upset even as much tradition as what represented the black box. There was a story that the present box had been made with some pieces of that box that had preceded it, the one that had been constructed when the first people settled down to make a village here. Every year, after the lottery, Mr. Summers began talking about a new box. Every year, the subject was allowed to fade off without anything being done. The black box grew shabbier each year. By now it was no longer completely black, but splintered badly along one side to show the original wood color, and in some places faded or stained. Mr. Martin and his oldest son Baxter held the black box securely on the stool until Mr. Summers had stirred the papers thoroughly with his hand. Because so much of the ritual had been forgotten or discarded, Mr. Summers had been successful in having slips of paper substituted for the chips of wood that had been used for generations. Chips of wood, Mr. Summers had argued, had been all very well when the village was tiny, But now that the population was more than 300, and likely to keep on growing, it was necessary to use something that would fit more easily into the black box. The night before the lottery, Mr. Summers and Mr. Graves made up the slips of paper and put them in the box, and it was then taken to the safe of Mr. Summers' coal company and locked up until Mr. Summers was ready to take to the square the next morning. The rest of the year, the box was put away, sometimes one place, sometimes another. It had spent 1 year in Mr. Graves' barn, and another year underfoot in the post office, and sometimes it was set on a shelf in the Martin grocery and left there. There was a great deal of fussing to be done before Mr. Summers declared the lottery open. There were the lists to make up of heads of families, heads of household in each family, members of each household in each family. There was the proper swearing in of Mr. Summers by the postmaster as the official of the lottery. At one time, some people remembered that there had been a recital of some sort performed by the official of the lottery. A perfunctory, tuneless chant that had been rattled off duly each year. Some people believed that the official of the lottery used to stand just so when he said or sang it. Others believed that he was supposed to walk among the people. But years and years ago, this part of the ritual had been allowed to lapse. There had been also a ritual salute, which the official of the lottery had to use in addressing each person who came up to draw from the box. But this also had changed with time. Until now, it was felt necessary only for the official to speak to each person approaching. Mr. Summers was very good at this. In his clean white shirt and blue jeans, with one hand resting carelessly on the black box, he seemed very proper and important as he talked intermittently to Mr. Graves and the Martins.
Hi, Suki.
Hello, sweet. Hello, hello, hello. We are reading The Lottery. And we are on page 2. So far, all that they've done is describe everyone going to the village square and the box.
From what I hear, it sounds like it's some sort of island. Too many people, so they have to let them go or something.
I guess we'll see, won't we?
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure either. I might fall asleep. What cat? You fall asleep. Everybody who feels some comf, please feels all the comf. This is comf
That's
time.
right. Super comp. Get your blankie, you might fall asleep. So make sure to listen to this in bed.
Oh, that's a good idea. Yeah, if you're going to listen to it while you're in bed.
Just as Mr. Summers finally left off talking and turned to the assembled villagers, Miss Hutchinson came hurriedly along the path to the square. Her sweater thrown over her shoulders, she slid into place in the back of the crowd. "Clean forgot what day it was," she said to Miss Delacruz, who stood next to her, and they both laughed softly. "Thought my old man was out back stacking wood." Miss Hutchinson went on, "And then I looked out the window and the kids were gone, and I remembered it was the 27th and came a-running." She dried her hands on her apron, and Miss Delacruz said, "You're in time, though. They're still talking away up there." Miss Hutchinson craned her neck to see through the crowd and found her husband and children standing near the front. She tapped Miss Delacruz on the arm as a farewell and began to make her way through the crowd. The people separated good-humoredly to let through. 2 or 3 people said, in voices just loud enough to be heard across the crowd, "Here comes your Mrs. Hutchinson." And Bill, she made it after all. Miss Hutchinson reached her husband and Mr. Summers, who had been waiting, and cheerfully, "Thought we were going to have to get on without you, Tissy," Miss Hutchinson said, grinning. "Wouldn't have made me leave my dishes in the sink now, would you, Joe?" And soft laughter rang through the crowd as the people stirred back into position after Mrs. Hutchinson's arrival. "Well now," Mr. Summers said soberly, "guess we better get started. Get this over with so we can go back to work. Anybody ain't here?" "Dunbar," several people said. "Dunbar, Dunbar." Mr. Summers consulted his list. "Clyde Dunbar," he said. "That's right. He broke his leg, hasn't he? Who's drawing for him?" "Me, I guess," a woman said, and Mr. Summers turned to look at her. Well, after all's for her husband, Mr. Summers said. Don't you have a grown boy to do it for you, Janie? Although Mr. Summers and everyone else in the village knew the answer perfectly well, it was the business of the official of the lottery to ask such questions formally. Mr. Summers waited with an expression of polite interest while Mrs. Dunbar answered. Horace is not 16 vet. I think meant to be yet. Mrs. Dunbar said regretfully, Guess I gotta fill in for the old man this year. Right, Senior Summers said. He made a note on his list he was holding. Then he asked, Watson boy drawn this year? A tall boy in the crowd raised his hand. Here, he said. I'm drawn for my mother and me. He blinked his eyes nervously and ducked his head as several voices in the crowd said things like, Good fellow, Lack, and glad to see your mother's got a man to do it. Well, Mr. Summers said, Guess that's everyone. Old man Warner make it? Here, a voice said, and Mr. Summers nodded. A sudden hush fell on the crowd as Mr. Summers cleared his throat and looked at his list. All ready? He called. Now, I'll read the names. Head of the families first, and then the men come up and take a paper out of the box. Keep the paper folded in your hand without looking at it until everyone's had a turn. Everything clear? The people had done it so many times that they only half listened to the directions. Most of them were quiet, wetting their lips, not looking around. Then Mr. Summers raised one hand high and said, Adams. A man disengaged himself from the crowd and came forward. Hi, Steve. Mr. Summers said, and Mr. Adams said, Hey, Joe. They grinned at one another humorlessly and nervously. Then Mr. Adams reached into the black box and took out a folded paper. He held it firmly by one corner as he turned and went hastily back to his place in the crowd, where he stood a little apart from his family, not looking down at his hand. Allan, Mr. Summers said. Anderson. Bentham. Seems like there's no time at all between lotteries anymore, Mrs. Delacruz said to Mrs. Graves in the back row. Seems like we got through this one only last week. Time sure does go fast, Mrs. Graves said. Clark. Delacruz. There goes my old man, Mrs. Delacruz said. She held her breath while her husband went forward. Dunbar, Mr. Summers said. And Mrs. Dunbar went steadily to the box while one of the women said, Go on, Janie. And another said, There she goes. Where next? Mrs. Graves said. She watched while Mr. Graves came around from the side of the box, greeted Mr. Summers gravely, and selected a piece of paper from the box. By now, all through the crowd, there were men holding small folded papers in their large hand, turning them over and over nervously. Mrs. Dunbar and her two sons stood together, Mrs. Dunbar holding the slip of paper. Harbert. Hutchinson. Get up there, Bill, Mrs. Hutchinson said, and the people near her laughed. Jones. They do say, Mr. Adams said to Old Man Warner, who stood next to him, that over in the North Village, they're talking of giving up the lottery. Old Man Warner snorted. Pack of crazy fools, he said, listening to the young folks. Nothing's good enough for them. Next thing you know, they'll be wanting to go back to living in caves. Nobody work anymore. Live that way for a while. Used to be saying about lottery in June. Corn be heavy soon. First thing you know, we'll be eating stewed chickweed and acorns. There's always been a lottery, he added petulantly. Bad enough to see young Joe Summers up there joking with everybody. Some places have already quit lotteries, Mrs. Adams said. Nothing but trouble in that, Old Man Warmer said stoutly. Pack of young fools. Martin, and Bobby Martin watched his father go forward. Overdyke, Percy. I'd wish they'd hurry, Miss Dunbar said to her older son. I'd wish they'd hurry. They're almost through, her son said. You'll get ready to run till Dad, Mrs. Dunbar said. Mr. Summers called his own name and then stepped forward precisely and selected a slip from the box. And then he called, "Warner." "77, sir. Been in the lottery," old Warner said as he went through the crowd. 77 time. "Watson." The tall boy came awkwardly through the crowd. Someone said, "Don't be nervous, Jack." And Mr. Summers said, "Take your time, son." "Zanini." After that, there was a long pause, a breathless pause, until Mr. Summers, holding his slip of paper in the air, said, "All right, folks." For a minute, no one moved, and then all the slips of paper were opened suddenly. All the women began to speak at once, saying, "Who is it? Who got it? Is it the Dunbars? Is it the Watsons?" Then the voice began to say, "It's Hutchinson! It's Bill! Bill Hutchinson's got it!" "Go tell your father," Mrs. Dunbar said to her older son. People began to look around to see the Hutchinsons. Bill Hutchinson was standing quiet, staring down at the paper in his hand. Suddenly, Tessie Hutchinson shouted to Mr. Summers, "You didn't give him time enough to take any paper he wanted. I saw you. It wasn't fair." "Be a good sport, Tessie," Mrs. Delacruz said, and Mrs. Graves said, "All of us took the same chance." "Shut up, Tessie," Bill Hutchinson said. "Well, everyone," Mr. Summers said, "that was done pretty fast, and now we gotta be hurrying a little more to get done in time." He consulted his list. "Bill," he said, "you draw for the Hutchinson family. You got any other households in the Hutchinsons?" "There's Don and Ava," Miss Hutchinson yelled. "Make them take their chance." "Daughters draw with their husbands' families, Tessie," Mr. Summers said gently. "You know that as well as anyone else." "It wasn't fair," Tessie said. "I guess not, Joe," Bill Hutchinson said regretfully. "My daughter draws with her husband's family, and that's only fair, and I've got no other family except the kids." "Then as far as drawing for families is concerned, it's you," Mr. Summers said in explanation. "And as far as drawing for household is concerned, that's you too, right?" "Right," Bill Hutchinson said. "How many kids, Bill?" Mr. Summers said formally. "3," Bill Hutchinson said. "There's Bill Jr. and Nancy and little Dave and Tessie and me." "All right then," Mr. Summers said. "Harry, you got their tickets back?" Mr. Graves nodded and held up the slips of paper. "Put 'em in the box then," Mr. Summers directed. "Take Bill's and put it in." "Ah, it's Mimi!" "Hi, Mimi!"
That's a raid.
Did you have a good streamy?
Mm-hmm.
You're playing Earthbound again?
Oh, Yuki has to go to bed.
Sorry, Keone and Luca, I have to sleep now. I'm super work, but I hope you have a great rest of your stream. Thank you again for the cozy stream. Of course, Tora! Thank you so much for joining us. I hope you have a good sleep and you have a good day at work tomorrow.
Yes. Yes.
Yokai, night-night!
Good night, night. And Tanuki power!
Tanuki power!
Bro, what is this lottery they're talking about?
Wow, no, shh, we haven't got to that part yet.
I need to know. I'm not gonna read it ahead. I want you to read faster.
Oh my gosh. Today was the most infuriating game played, but the story was mwah, chef's kiss. Awesome. Awesome blossom. We've just been reading. But I'm glad you're enjoying Earthbound. Like I said, I've never played it, but it looks very interesting. Okay, where was I?
Oh, you were talking about... Alright then, Mr. Summers said, "Harry, you got their tickets back?"
Oh, I got it. Okay. "I think we ought to start this over," Mrs. Hutchinson said as quickly as she could. "I tell you, it wasn't fair. You didn't give him enough time to choose. Everybody saw that." Mr. Graves had selected 5 slips and put them in the box, and he dropped all the papers but those onto the ground, where the breeze caught them and lifted them off. "Listen, everybody," Mrs. Hutchinson said to the people around her. "Ready, Bill?" Mr. Summers said, and Bill Hutchinson, with one quick glance around at his wife and children, nodded. "Remember," Mr. Summers said, Take the slips and keep them folded until each person has taken one. Harry, you help little Dave. Mr. Graves took the hand of the little boy, who came willingly with him up to the box. Take a paper out of the box, Davy, Mr. Summers said. Davy put his hand into the box and laughed. Just one paper, Mr. Summers said. Harry, you hold it for him. Mr. Graves took the child's hand and moved the folded paper from his tight fist and held it while little Dave stood next to him and looked up at him wonderingly. Nancy next, Mr. Summers said. Nancy was 12, and her school friends breathed heavily as she went forward, switching her skirt, and took a slip daintily from the box. Bill Jr., Mr. Summers said, and Billy, his face red and his feet overlarge, near knocked the box over as he got a paper out. Tessie, Mr. Summers said, and she hesitated for a minute, looking around defiantly, and then set her lips and went up to the box. She snatched a paper and held it behind her. Bill, Mr. Summers said, and Bill Hutchinson reached into the box and felt around, bringing his hand out, at last, with a slip of paper in it. The crowd was quiet. A girl whispered, I hope it's not Nancy, and the sound of the whisper reached the edges of the crowd. It's not the way it used to be, Old Man Warner said clearly. People aren't the way they used to be. All right, Mr. Summers said. Open the papers. Harry, you open little Davy's. Mr. Graves opened the slip of paper, and there was a general sigh through the crowd as he held it up, and everyone could see that it was blank. Nancy and Bill Jr. opened theirs at the same time. Both beamed and laughed, turning around to the crowd and holding their slips of paper above their heads. Tessie, Mr. Summers said. There was a pause, and then Mr. Summers looked at Bill Hutchinson, and Bill unfolded his paper and showed it. It was blank. It's Tessie, Mr. Summers said, and his voice was hushed. Show us her paper, Bill. Bill Hutchinson went over to his wife and forced the slip of paper out of her hand. It had a black spot on it. The black spot Mr. Summers had made the night before with a heavy pencil in the coal company office. Bill Hutchinson held it up, and there was a stir in the crowd. All right, folks, Mr. Summers said. Let's finish quickly. Although the villagers had forgotten the ritual and lost the original black box, they still remembered to use stones. The pile of stones the boys had made earlier was ready. There were stones on the ground with the blowing scraps of paper that had come from the box. Delacruz selected a stone so large she had to pick it up with both hands and turned to Mrs. Dunbar. Come on, she said. Hurry up. Mr. Dunbar had small stones in both hands, and she said, gasping for breath, I can't run at all. You'll have to go ahead and catch up with you. The children had stones already, and someone gave little Davy Hutchinson a few pebbles. Tessie Hutchinson was in the center of the cleared space by now, and she held her hands out desperately as the villagers moved in on her. It isn't fair, she said. A stone hit her on the side of the head. Old Man Warner was saying, come on, everyone. Steve Adams was in the front of the crowd of the villagers, with Mrs. Graves beside him. It isn't fair. It isn't right, Mrs. Hutchinson screamed, and they were upon her. The end.
Okay, I got more confused on that story.
Yep. That's why they were saying there was really no point in this ritual. They just did it.
They used to do it in the past, but not anymore, except for this village. Right?
No, there's other villages that do it. There were some that stopped doing it.
I don't know. Why would they
Keep doing it?
Yeah. What was the
Tradition.
I guess tradition.
And people, well, as horrible as it sounds, they could stop doing it, right?
Yeah.
The right thing to do would be to stop. But because they're able to do it, right? Because it's a normal tradition, and they can literally stone someone to death, right? Of course they're going to do it.
I guess I'm more confused. I just since
Think about it this way. You know the movie The Purge?
Yes.
Why?
Oh, it's because America was too much in debt.
No, but I mean,
Right?
like, they didn't. You don't have to do it, right?
That's right.
But they do it anyway.
They did it.
Same thing.
I haven't. Oh, all right. But in this case, because they forgot the main reason in the past, so now they keep on doing it.
Right. I remember this story. They did it in school to teach us not to do stuff wrong just because you can or you're told it's fine. Exactly. It's like, what do they call it? The blind leading the blind? Like,
I'll be right back. One moment.
sure. Like, just because someone else says it's okay doesn't mean it's morally okay. Just because someone says it's okay to murder somebody doesn't mean it is okay. And, really quick, everybody, I have to go do something with the puppy, so I'll be right back, okay? Okay, and I'm back. All good.
I'm back. Sorry about that.
Oh, you left too?
Yes.
Oh. So then, yeah, that was it.
But interesting story.
Yep. So those were our 3 stories. Alibaba and the 40 Thieves, the Casp and
story.
Amontillado, and the lottery. Now, we were sent a story suggestion from Cap, and we still have some time. Should we read that one? Luca?
Yeah. Okay.
Let's see.
Thirty, not very long. Okay. No, it's not that long.
Nope,
So yeah.
it's not long.
But yes, let's go.
Okay, let me fix this quick. Okay. So this is dealing with Eastern mythology. Okay. Here we go. So this is the story that Cap has suggested for us to read today, called Of Mirror and Bell. Eight centuries ago, the priests of Mugenyama in the province of Totomi wanted a big bell for their temple, and they asked the women of their parish to help them by contributing old bronze mirrors for bell metal. Even today, in the courts of certain Japanese temples, you may see heaps of bronze mirrors contributed for such purpose. The largest collection of this kind that was ever seen was in the court temple of the Jodo sect in Hataka, in Kyushu. The mirrors had been given for the making of a bronze statue, Amida, 33 feet high. There was, at the time, a young woman, a farmer's wife, living in Mugenyama, who presented her mirror to the temple, to be used for a bell metal. But afterwards, she much regretted her mirror. She remembered things that her mother had told her about it, and she remembered that it had belonged to not only her mother, but to her mother's mother,
and her grandmother, and she remembered some happy smiles which it had reflected. Of course, if she could have offered the priest a certain sum of money in place of the mirror, she could have asked them to give back her heirloom, but she had not the money necessary. Whenever she went to the temple, she saw her mirror laying in the courtyard behind the railing among the hundreds of other mirrors heaped there together. She knew it by the Sho Chikubai in relief on the back of it, those 3 fortunate emblems of pine, bamboo, and plumflower, which delighted her baby eyes when her mother first showed her the mirror. She longed for some chance to steal the mirror and hide it, that she might therefore treasure it always, but the chance did not come, and she became very unhappy, felt as if she had foolishly given away a part of her life. She thought about the old saying that a mirror is the soul of a woman, a saying mystically expressed by the Chinese character for soul upon the backs of many bronze mirrors. And she feared that it was true in weirder ways that she had imagined before, but she could not dare speak of her pain to anybody. Now, when all the mirrors contributed for the Mugenyama bell had been sent to the foundry, the bell founders discovered that there was one mirror among them which did not melt. Again and again they tried to melt it, but it resisted all of their efforts. Evidently, the woman who had given that mirror to the temple must have regretted the giving. She had not presented her offering with all her heart, and therefore her selfish soul remained attached to the mirror, kept it hard and cold in the midst of the furnace. Of course, everybody heard the matter, and everybody soon knew whose mirror it was that would not melt. And because of this public exposure of her secret fault, the poor woman became very much ashamed and very angry, and as she could not bear the shame, she drowned herself, and having written a farewell letter containing these words: "When I am dead, it will not be difficult to melt the mirror and cast the bell, but to the person who breaks that bell by ringing it, great wealth will be given by the ghost of me." You must know that the last wish or promise of a person or of anybody who dies in anger or performs suicide in anger is generally supposed to possess a supernatural force. After the dead woman's mirror had been melted and the bell had successfully cast, people remembered the words of the letter. They felt sure that the spirit of the writer would give wealth to the breaker of the bell, and as soon as the bell had been suspended in the court of the temple, they went in multitude to ring with it. With all of their might and main they swung the ringing beam, but the bell proved to be a good bell, and it bravely withstood their assaults. Nevertheless, the people were not easily discouraged. Day after day, at all hours, they continued to ring the bell furiously, caring nothing whatever for the protests of the priests, so the ringing became an affliction, and the priests could not endure it, and they got rid of the bell by rolling it down the hill into a swamp. The swamp was deep and swallowed it up, and that was the end of the bell. Only its legend remains, and that in that legend it is called the Mugen Cane, the Bell of Mugen.
We got a yokai hi.
Shy, greedy yokai. Ready?
Ready.
1, 2, 3. Yokai
Yokai
hi.
hi.
I am Kyo, the cutie crow tengu,
I'm Luke, the ramen ghost.
and we're Yokai Playtime.
We're yokai pizza, everyone.
Yokai Playtime.
Yokai playtime.
Hello, Flagger, blah 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 blah, America.
Mhm.
How's it been? Haven't seen you in a while. How are you doing? I'm Captain Who Craves Cookies. Ahoy! It's a little bit more left. Now, there are queer old Japanese beliefs that the magical efficacy of a certain mental operation implied, though not described, by the verb nazorareru. The word itself cannot be adequately rendered in an English word, for it is used in relation to many kinds of mimetic magic, as well as in relation to the performance of many religious acts of faith. Common meanings of nazorareru, sorry, I have to sound it out slowly, according to dictionaries, are to imitate, to compare, to liken. But the esoteric meaning is to substitute, in imagination, one object or action for another, so as to bring about some magical or miraculous result. I'm doing good. It's 1 a.m. for me, though. Oh, yes, we're doing good as well. It is also 1:22. It is late, so time to get comf. For example, you cannot afford to build a Buddhist temple, but you can easily lay a pebble before the image of the Buddha, with the same pious feeling that would prompt you to build a temple if you were rich enough to build one. The merit of so offering the pebble becomes an equal, or almost equal, to the merit of erecting temple. You cannot read the 6,771 volumes of the Buddhist text, but you can make a revolving library containing them, turn around by pushing it like a windlass, and if you push with an earnest wish that you could read the 6,771 volumes, you will acquire the same merit as the reading them would enable you to gain, though much will perhaps suffice to explain the religious meanings of Nazorareru. Midnight Gang! The magical meanings could not all be explained without the great variety of examples, but, for present purposes, the following will serve. If you should make a little man of straw, for the same reason that Sister Helen made a little man of wax, and nail it with nails not less than 5 inches long, to some tree in a temple grove in the hour of ox, 2, and if the person imaginatively represented by that little straw man should die, therefore after an atrocious agony, that would illustrate the signification of Nazorareru. Or let us suppose the robber has entered your house during the night and carried away your valuables. If you can discover the footprints of the robber in your garden, and then promptly burn a very large moxa on each of them, the soles of the feet of the robber will become inflamed, and will allow them no rest until he returns of his own accord to put himself at your mercy. This is another kind of mimetic magic expressed by the term Nazorareru, and a third kind is illustrated by various legends of the Mugen Kane. After the bell had been rolled into the swamp, there was, of course, no more chance of ringing it in such wise to break it. But persons who regretted the loss of opportunity would strike and break objects imaginatively substituting for the bell, thus hoping to please the spirit of the owner of the mirror that had been made so much trouble. One of these persons was a woman called Umegae, famed in Japanese legend because of her relation to the Kajiwara Kagesu, a warrior of the Hiei. While the pair were traveling together, Kajiwara one day found himself in great straits for want of money, and Umeage, remembering the tradition of the Bell of Mugen, took a basin of bronze, and mentally representing it to the bell, beating upon it she broke it, crying out at the same time for 300 pieces of gold. A guest of the inn, where the pair were stopping, made inquiry as to the cause of the banging and crying, and on learning the story of the trouble, actually presented Umegae with 300 ryo in gold. Afterwards, a song was made of Umegae's basin of bronze, and that song was sung by dancing girls even to this day. Umegae no chozubachi tatei okane ga deru naraba miena sana. Oh my gosh. I can't say all that. If by striking upon the wash basin of Umegae I could make honorable money come to me, then I would negotiate for the freedom of all my girl comrades. After this happening, the fame of the Mugen Kane became great, and many people followed the example of Umegae, therefore hoping to emulate her luck. Among these folk was a desolate farmer who lived near Muganyama, on the bank of Iogawa. Having wasted his substance in righteous living, the farmer made for himself, out of the mud in his garden, a clay model of the Mugen Kane, and he beat the clay bell and broke it, crying out the while for great wealth. Then, out of the ground before him, rose the figure of a white-robed woman with long, loose, flowing hair, holding a covered jar. And the woman said, "I've come to answer your fervent prayer, as it deserves to be answered. Take, therefore, this jar." So saying, she put the jar into his hands and disappeared. Onto his house, the happy man rushed to tell his wife the good news. He set down in front of her the covered jar, which was heavy, and they opened it together, and they found it was filled to the very brim with... But no, I really cannot tell you what it was filled. What? I don't get to know what it was filled with? Popsicles?
Well, there you go. I mean, this poor is gonna live with popsicles for like a day or two before it melts.
Let me see if I can read this. 梅替えの蝶々鉢叩いてお金が出るならば皆さん見受けはそれ頼みます。I wanted to try to read it. I don't know if I
It's
read it
good.
right, but I tried.
I think it's good.
And there you have it. It's a very odd ending, but I think it's meant to represent that you would imagine for yourself to be happy, right? Maybe you feel your own happiness.
Aw, I see. I want money, y'all. We gotta
Wow.
get a bill and break it.
So sad, this lady, though, who lost her mirror. So sad that she decided to leave the world. So sad, so sad.
Yeah. We had a lot of good stories today.
Yeah, we did. We got through what, 4?
4 stories and a story game.
Yeah, that was pretty productive.
Yeah, very productive. Another successful yokai reading.
Yes, another successful yokai story time. And with that, I think it is safe to say we will probably wrap up the streamy.
That's right. Do you should we inform them about what's gonna happen next month?
Sure, go ahead.
Okay, everyone. So next month, we're not going to have we're not gonna have like the monthly achievement where we're gonna have story time. We are gonna have one, but this will be our first time ever. We're actually gonna be collaborating with other people.
Mm-hmm.
So if anyone wants to be a part of this story time, you're more than welcome to actually join us on that day.
Yes. Captain, me.
Oh, there's Captain. Okay. And I know that a certain demon angel has been wanting to collaborate with us.
Demon Angel, you mean Damon?
Damon, yes, Damon.
Me, I'll get my storybooks. Nice.
We'll see how it goes. Like, depends how long the stories are. Like, if we have like a lot of people, we may have to actually have short stories.
Well, yeah, it would have to be. We do short stories. Yeah, we would just have, like, maybe do, like, 1 short story per person.
Yep. I mean, you probably will just like, we'll probably just like, we'll look at everyone's story, and then based on the people that's gonna join us that day, we'll either choose the very long one to pass the time or a short one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we don't want to have it too long that everyone will run out of time that we can't do for the other people, or if it's too short.
Yeah. We want to make sure that everybody has a chance if we do that. And I'm
Mm-hmm.
just going to sit and enjoy them all. Read to me.
Yep. And you know, there will be like certain books you can read. I mean, currently so far, we only been reading classic literature, so no DMCA or not, anything like that, right?
I mean, they can read it. It's fine. Because you have to think
Okay.
about it. It's just short stories. They're not like... We're not like reading... I mean, I don't know, to be honest. Like...
We haven't stepped into the books that have been published. Like, we have read short stories that anyone can actually read. And, like, it's free to read, but then there's those books that you need, like, if you buy it, we can't really read because it does belong to that one company. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see.
Yeah, we'll have to look into it.
But either way, the main course is we're gonna have collaboration with other people.
Mm-hmm.
Anyone's willing to join, anyone can bring a story to read.
Yep. And we will provide further details later.
Yep.
Alright. Let us find a friend to send our raid to. Again, we want to thank everybody for coming today. We always enjoy reading and providing a nice big comf. We're all going to be comf. Yeah! And we're going to be comf as a group. And yeah, and we're glad that you guys come and listen to all the stories. Because some of the stories we read, I've never read before. And some of them I have. And it's just fun. It's fun to like share new experiences and also old ones.
Yes.
Okay, so let's see. Who's on right now? Ooh, let's go to see Yokai. Yukai's kind of doing. She's doing art, so that should be kind of
That's
along the same lines.
Another comfy stream.
Oh, I think she's working on flow. That's exciting.
Okay, cool.
Okay. Alright. So we're gonna go raid one of our wonderful shark friends. Please provide some lovely love and support. And I hope that everyone has a wonderful morning, afternoon, evening. If you're working, I hope that you get done with work quickly and you get to go home or just be home and relax. And then if you're going to go to sleep soon, I hope you have a wonderful rest. And we will see you again soon. Tomorrow is Wednesday, so Luca will be having your Fallout stream, correct?
I should be having my Fallout stream. I'm not. I will probably stream a little bit earlier. I do need to do something later at night.
Okay, sounds good. Yes, so Luca stream tomorrow, and he will keep you posted.
Yep.
All right. Good night, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good everything. Good happy time zone. We'll see you later. Have a good one.
Yep. Good night, everyone. Enjoy the rest of your night, like you said.
Night night. Okay, bye bye.
Yoka, bye bye, everyone.
Okay, bye bye.
Yoka, bye bye.